Hello and welcome inside the final scores table edition of the season before we get to Miss Basketball. I'm Brian Hengen, joined by Danny Ray and Courtney Delks. We're here to talk state championships. We're going to have a loaded show today. I think this is the most guests we've probably ever had, despite having some with 17 different people or something insane, because we're going to have players and coaches from all 4 state championship teams as we tie a bow on what was, truly just an incredible day of high school basketball at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Saturday. All 3 of us, I think, were marveling about it at various times. But, Court, let's start with you. Just what was that like for you as a former player who's been in that moment before, to see how packed that gym was and just, everything that went into celebrating the 50th anniversary of the girls' state championships?
First of all, thanks to the IHSAA. I thought they did a fantastic job of representing and celebrating the 50th year of girls basketball, the state finals. I thought there was a great turnout, and I thought that the fan bases that represented each team and every single, whether it was the 1A, 2A, 3A, or 4A, I thought the energy all day in Banker's Life was just on point and what you would want for the teams, for the girls, for the fans at a state final. So I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a great day of basketball. I had my daughter and son there, so for them to see it, they were loving the energy. So it was just a fantastic atmosphere.
Danny?
And I think for me, it's been, a lot. I make a lot of sometimes the strategy and the X's and O's and the game planning. But, when you watch each of these games, it always just boils down to kids making plays. And that's what it's always about for me. And I think there's a level of pride. There's a level of entertainment. There's just a lot of, I think, just happiness and just seeing kids make plays on such a big stage. They have such an opportunity that is unique within their experience growing up. And for them to have the experience of making plays that win state championships for schools and school districts and communities that Courtney mentioned in front of all those fans, I think is a memory that they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives, win or lose. So a great day. I had a lot of fun and I can't wait to talk about it.
Let's get right into talking about the games. Let's start in Class A and work our way up. Class A, Borden takes down Lafayette Central Catholic 49-40, the largest comeback in Class A state finals history, a 13-point comeback. Borden comes back almost from the dead there at the start to rally and knock off Lafayette Central Catholic. Danny, I know you had some stuff written down, so we'll let you start, and then Courtney and I will bounce off and go where you go.
Well, I'll let you guys kind of – I think there's one – we can start with one of 2 big stories. I think the first is Riley Rarick. From an individual perspective, I can't say that's kids making plays and then lead with scheme. Riley Rarick has always been one of those, athletes on the basketball floor, one of those make your other teammates better kind of players, the defensive stopper. But she paced Borden with a game high 16 on 4 of 9 shooting. I think it was 3 for 5 from the field. Her offensive game was on point. And I thought she just made plays. The second, I think, is the switch from the 2-2-1 and a little man-to-man to the 1-3-1. So I think those are the 2 headlines. Courtney, which do you think of the 2 is the lead story here?
For me, I'm going to take a little twist on it. I wasn't at that game, so I was watching online at home, kind of in and out between kids. And so I didn't see the entirety of the game, but I was able to see the switch in the game where Borden comes back. And so when I got to the game, my former teammate at Purdue, it was Miss Basketball. She was there as well. So we were talking. I said, on film, when I was watching live stream, it just looked like LCC just ran out of gas. They weren't cutting hard. And so I asked her about it. She said, yeah, she's in those state finals games, even in the first quarter, second quarter, we talked about, the emotions that take over, that's exhausting. And even though there's timeouts that happen, you got to give your kids some rest. And so I just thought that, LCC played 5 kids. I thought they just ran out of gas. And Borden, they're, I forget who the chick was that hit the 3 that covered, banked it in. But the energy was just, it was, I'm all about mindset and energy. It was just completely different watching on, you could see the LCC was deflated, and then you saw Borden, they were just smiling, they were laughing, they were just having a great time out there, and there was no pressure. So I think that for me, that was my storyline, was the differences in energy, and I think that LCC just ran out of gas.
Riley Rarick, Danny, I'll talk about her. We talked the night before. Is part of this story that we did behind the scenes with Borden girls basketball. Highly encourage everybody to check it out. I wrote the story. Grace Smith has some phenomenal photos as we documented their journey from the time they arrived in Indy through the end of the championship game and the celebration. We talked the night before about how when she shoots poorly during warmups, for whatever reason, she takes off and plays really well during the game. So I was keeping an eye on that. That's what I was honed in on during the game. Like I stood under the basket for a few minutes just to see how she was shooting, and she looked terrible. So I was like, oh, here comes Riley. She's going to tear it up. And sure enough, I mean, the kid, like she was super impressive, just hitting everything. 4 of 9 shooting, looks like I think 5 of 6 at the line. And that was the thing. One of the things that they talked about at practice the day before and comparing, I think it was her and Carly Barrett from LCC, was the numbers may not jump off the page immediately, but they've been shooting it really well of late, and they're on a bit of a heater. So are they going to be able to sustain? How do we defend that if you're Borden? And then vice versa, obviously, that's something else he's going to be able to pay attention for. But it was really cool to see Riley have that performance she did on that stage. And then, I mean, everybody did it. You can't discount what AJ Mallad did with some of the big plays she made defensively, hit some big shots that gave them life early. Ava Wheeler, that kind of felt like something of a bit of a coming out party for her as well. And it was just that conscious decision to start playing inside. That's when I noticed it. Was I think they called a timeout, then they go right inside to Ava Wheeler, start taking advantage of that size advantage they had. And they knew was something that they could exploit and start taking advantage with it through her. McKenna Mullen just played her role perfectly. Like she was a little self-deprecating after the game, but my gosh, she hit some huge shots in that game, had a couple big assists that really pop out on the score sheet. So she had a great game, just a really good all-around performance, I thought, there by Borden.
Yeah, and that's fascinating about Riley Rarick and warm-ups, by the way. I'm never going to be able to unsee that every time she warms up for a game now. Her production, Riley's production too, it came off like it was in that highlight package. Like there were a couple of them that came off of catch and release 3, whereas creation of somebody else. Generally, it's the other way around. It's Riley making a play on the defensive side or knifing through the lane to draw 2 and then kicking to AJ or putting Ava in a DHO downhill to get her in space. But it was almost as if, I don't want to say that LCC dared Riley Rarick to make plays. I think she just found herself in space off the creation of her teammates and she cashed it in, which I think is great. But Hank, I just think from a coach's perspective, I saw the game. I saw the game strategically and schematically shift when they moved to the 1-3-1. And I don't know if you have insight. I don't know if you have insight in talking to Matt or Amanda or even the LCC side. But maybe one of the things that wore LCC down was, just the mental ability to have to attack a defense maybe that they hadn't prepared for. I don't know how much Borden had run 1-3-1, but it was certainly a surprise to me. We did have a clue going into the game that they were going to provide pressure to LCC at the beginning. They did so in a 2-2-1. But the switch to 1-3-1, I felt like caught everybody a little bit off guard. And I think at the top of that list is LCC. Thoughts, Hank?
Yeah, we'll bring everybody on here in just a couple minutes. But I asked Matt about that, Matt Vick, the coach, after the game, and he said a lot of it was rooted in the fact that both Ava and Riley were in foul trouble. And as they were going through the games, that was kind of top of the list, was keep those two out of foul trouble. So they get into foul trouble early. They switched to the 1-3-1, and it worked well. And like you mentioned, that was the plan from the outset, was we're going to pressure LCC and see how they respond, because for as athletic as they are, and Courtney brought this up, that really deep. So for me personally, I was looking at that and kind of wondering how LCC would withstand against that. And as you saw Borden get out and run and pressure them, I mean, it was really effective there at the start. And then it tilted the other way a little bit as they started to pressure. Their pressure started to take hold against Borden. And then, they make the switch there after a timeout in the second quarter and things just take off from there. 23-0 run, by the way, for Borden as they took control of that game. 23-0. Like, holy crud. I almost swore.
You talk about the protection of the fouls for Rarick and Wheeler. Really smart. I noticed when Rarick picked up her second, it was relatively early. We saw the pickup of the second foul be very big in some of the other basketball games too. But in this one particularly, when they went to 1-3-1, I mean, if you're familiar with the Borden roster, Rarick and Wheeler specifically are prototypical point Vanessa Rosswurm, Meredith Tipner type players to play at the front of the zone. Mm-hmm. Rarick and Wheeler played the wings, which I think is also important, because when the ball is on left side, for example, the weak side person that's playing the wing on the right side then has to drop in protection. that puts a ton of stress on that person from a rebounding perspective. Borden won the rebounding battle 31-24. Rarick and Wheeler's size in dropping on the weak side was also a critical point in the 1-3-1, and those kids cleaned up the glass. I think Rarick had 6 boards. I think Wheeler had just about as many, but that is a definite schematic player placement thing that Matt gambled on and hit.
Yeah, 16 points, 3 threes, 6 rebounds for Rarick. 13 points, 5 of 9 shooting, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, 3 blocks for Ava Wheeler.
15 rebounds. 15 of their 31 rebounds. Half of their rebounds came from Rarick and Wheeler, and many of them came off of missed shots in the 1-3-1. And so I didn't have the stats to back it up, but I mean, those kids, their length, sometimes it can bother you in different ways. It can bother you with their creation on the offensive side. It can bother you on ball defense, but also dropping weak side and grabbing rebounds. Their athleticism and size was a storyline through the whole year, and it was a big storyline on Saturday morning.
And I will bring them on with this. They return all of their key contributors from a year ago. So there are no secrets. Matt brought it up in his press conference, brought it up inside the room. They'll be the team to beat going into next year as well. So let's go ahead and bring on Coach Matt Vick, juniors Riley Rarick, Ava Wheeler, AJ Mallad, McKenna Mullen. We have everybody here.
Oh my God.
What's up, guys? We fit everybody in. What's going on?
Hey.
I'll start with this. Let's just go from McKenna, then AJ, the girls, and then Matt, you bring us home. Just what was the scenes like when you guys got back from Borden on Saturday?
It was crazy. I mean, our whole community was there. As we were riding into Borden, everybody was there with signs. I think we actually rode through almost the whole town of Borden, and I think we still saw people every time, the whole time we were driving. So it was super good. It was super crazy. Once we got back to the school, they kind of had a little pep session. We were in the locker room, and you can hear them cheering from the locker room. They crowded the halls as we walked in. Everybody was cheering for us. I mean, everybody was just so excited for us. It was awesome.
AJ, was that concourse just like packed for you guys when you finally got back upstairs?
Yeah, there were so many people up there. It was just like we walk up the stairs, you think you'd like have a little bit of room to walk, but no, from the stairs all the way back to like where you could get food, there were so many people there waiting to say hi to everybody, waiting to take pictures and waiting for us all to come up there and celebrate with them. It was great.
Riley and Ava, I mean, has any of this like sank in yet? Like, what was it like going into school today as state champs?
Lots of people saying congrats and other things, asking about the game, just talking about it. So, yeah, pretty crazy.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
How have these past 48 hours been for you, man? I mean, this is cloud nine.
Honestly, it really hasn't hit me. I think once we hang a banner in our gym and get our trophy case and our rings, I think it'll finally hit me. But it was actually kind of bittersweet. I told our boys coach, I said, I'm kind of sad. And he's like, why's that? I was like, because it's over. I mean, granted, we won, but no more practices, no more games, no more traveling. So it's kind of bittersweet.
I was going to say, just spending the time that I did with you guys, just how close this group was. And I mean, people see it on the floor. We talk about it all the time, but I'll start with the players. Just for you girls, what has this year been like getting to play with this group? And I mean, how has this chemistry kind of developed over the course of your entire lives, I guess? McKenna,
okay, yeah. We're all definitely super close. Like even off the court, we're all, best friends since I think AJ came in the 7th grade. Ava, you did too, I think. 7th or 8th grade. Whatever, middle school. Since middle school, we've all been super, super close. So like that chemistry just kind of really contributes like on the court as well. So it's super easy and super fun playing with them.
Yeah, we've played together a lot. Like we did AAU, we didn't just do school ball, so it was like a consistent year-round thing. After Ava came the end of 7th grade, like for our AAU team, and we started playing in since, and it obviously started becoming a problem in high school because you didn't have that many on the same team. But like we still subbed, we all still play together. We still have open gyms all summer long and summer ball and all that, so it really helps there. And it also helps me hang out off the court. We're friends off the court. We talk off the court. Some a little bit more than others, but like we all still have each other's backs. We're all so close, and if it comes down to it, we'd also have each other's backs.
Yeah, it's just been the same as it is always or every year, except we won this year, so that's pretty exciting.
There you go. Yeah, I think basketball definitely brought us all closer. In 8th grade, whenever I moved there, I think we were pretty much all forced to be best friends. And I think that kind of helped us out a little bit because, like, I don't know, I think our chemistry is better than any other team that I've seen. So I think that just helps us a lot.
What's up, ladies? I have 2 questions for you. Congratulations on winning state. My first question will go same order we've been going, but I'm just curious. I want you guys to tell us, how did it feel when you woke up on Sunday morning? Like, what was that feeling? Was it just describe the feeling, like when you opened your eyes up on Sunday morning, what you felt and thought about?
It was awesome. I mean, I was still getting texts even Sunday. I mean, even to the second, getting texts being like, congratulations, this and that. So it was just awesome. And it was awesome the amount of people that did reach out, or if you go on Facebook or social media and you just see everybody posting about it. Like, it's just crazy how much support we have and how everybody was kind of on our side. So it's still awesome. And like hearing everybody congratulate us, like it's such a surreal feeling.
Yeah, I think everyone having our backs and everyone supporting us, like even till now, like it's been a good like 48 hours since then, and everybody's still texting and everybody's still asking about it. And we went to school today and everybody's talking to us about it and congratulating us about it. It was just like every class, it was like a big subject, and we had a pep rally after, and it was really fun. And it was just like it hit us then, like it was like reality for me then that we just won that, and it was the first one on board in history, which was also made a big impact on the.
Yeah, I had AAU Sunday morning, so I was kind of focused on that. But I still woke up super excited and kind of sad that the season's over. I always get sad after the season ends just because I love these girls so much and I love playing with them.
I honestly woke up just like any other morning, if I'm being completely honest. But I wasn't really upset until like later into the day when I realized that like Reagan's going to be gone next year and like there are no more like practices after school, no more games. So I guess it kind of sunk in like later in the day, but morning was regular for me.
Cool. So being humans, one of the greatest things that we have is the power of our imagination, where you guys can think when you're little girls, you're using your imagination, hitting game winners. You're using your imagination about winning a state title, I'm sure. And everything starts with a thought. So when did you guys have the thought within you? Like what age were you when you guys knew and really dreamed about winning a state championship when you were in high school?
I mean, for me, this is my first year back, and I have watched these girls play since high school, like their high school season start. And we've always worked together. When we played all together in 8th grade, like it was awesome. So when I came back this year, I kind of just knew, like I knew that once we all worked together, plus Reagan, plus Sailor, like all of us together, like we have such good chemistry that I kind of knew it was our year. And how our season went, we ended up with a super good record, and we knew postseason was going to be a little bit more difficult, but we've handled a lot of adversity, and I didn't think postseason was going to be a problem.
Mine was a little bit before high school. I moved here in 7th grade, and my coach was Riley's mother, Amanda Rarick, and she had the idea then. She wanted us all to be together and be there in high school for hopefully a state and winning something because of how good we worked together and all the chemistry, and we all were playing together so much that it was just there, and we all knew we could do it. It's always been a big talk since we've been in high school that Borden was something to watch out for, their length, their everything, and then now that we finally did it, I think it got a big thing off our backs.
Yeah, my mom's been talking to me, Emma, and McKenna about it since 4th grade when we all started. And then when we got Ava and AJ, she was like, there's no doubt in my mind that we'll win as much as we need to. And so I really have been knowing since elementary school that we could make it this far.
Probably 8th grade, whenever Amanda started being my coach, and like I was with all the girls, because before 8th grade at my other school, my teams weren't as good. And so whenever I moved to Borden, I kind of realized that like our team actually could be good and there's like potential there. And so probably 8th grade, just thinking about winning state with them was probably the start.
Matt, we'll get you involved in the conversation this way. And my place on this pod always brings it to the strategy and the coaching of the game. It seemed to pivot at the switch to the 1-3-1. I mean, just talk about the switch. Is it something that you planned? Is it something that you did on the fly? Did I see it incorrectly? It just seemed to pivot on that. Talk about the switch. Talk about what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, we had planned to do 1-3-1. That's probably our second best defense that we use. if we're not pressing, sometimes we'll switch it up and go to 1-3-1. The difference this year, or for this game, was we typically trap hard up top at half court, but I thought that they were too quick and too athletic for us to actually be effective. So we just planned on our wings staying low and trapping in the bottom, in the corners at the bottom, and it helped. Riley and Ava got in foul trouble, so for them to not pick up their third foul in that second quarter, it just seemed to work. And fortunately for us, I thought LCC's offense got a little stagnant and complacent with the outside jump shot, and it just worked in our favor. So I can't say it was a perfect plan, but it seemed to work, and we went with it.
Well, you were defensively minded too. I think we accidentally made eye contact actually during one of your timeouts, but I was eavesdropping and you can't hear everything in that loud building. But I did hear when you were coming out of the timeouts, you reminded your kids after 2 timeouts, know where 24 is, know where 24 is, know where 24 is, 24 being Carly Barrett, the outstanding player for LCC. It just seemed like it was a defense. You didn't talk much about the offensive side. It just seemed to be a defensive-minded game plan. You held them to 40 points. It's got to be why you won, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's we knew that Barrett was a playmaker for them. So, whether she's scoring the basketball or whether she's just being a playmaker, she's pretty good. And I thought we did a pretty good job overall of limiting her.
And Riley, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, was your approach different in this game? Did you try to come out and be more offensively minded, more aggressive? Was that something that you just let the game come to you and made plays? Just talk about your approach to this one and what you saw. And you ended with a game high, a great offensive line, I talked about how it was a defensive minded game plan, but you still got to make plays on the offensive end. You made a lot of them, Riley.
Yeah, really, my teammates, they were, especially Ava, they were focusing more on her because Ava is our best scorer on the offensive end. So they were more focusing on her. And I think they just found me open. My teammates are really good passers. None of us are really selfish. So they just picked it out to me, and I just had a good day. So, yeah.
Ava, I have to ask you about your reaction after that one shot.
Computer?
I don't know if it's mine. I muted out and it was still there, so I don't know if it's me.
I don't know either. It's a noise though. That's fun. Sorry, it's bugging
Ava,
me.
you got time to think about your answer on that, but just one of those just endearing moments of the game. Just talk about that play.
I wasn't expecting to make it in, if I'm being honest. I just wasn't expecting it to go in at all. I had no clue where it was going. So whenever it goes in, I just, my immediate reaction was just to cover my mouth because I was embarrassed. But it's all right because it went in. It was 3.
The reaction is just phenomenal for those who haven't seen it. It's Ava banging in the shot and then just kind of running backwards with her hand over her mouth, all the way back as she's getting ready to play defense too. Hand over her mouth was just unbelievable. So we're going to do that echo. We're going to fight through the echo, and we're going to do the fun thing where you guys get to talk about each other. Let's start with AJ, Ava, Riley, and McKenna. Her ability to kind of give you guys life and get you rolling there in that game. Just talk about what AJ has brought to the table and meant to you guys in that game specifically.
Riley, Ava, you guys go first.
You got
Okay. I think AJ is probably the best shooter. Freshman year and sophomore year, I feel like she was kind of more focused on defense. And I think this year she's kind of been, like I said, more of a shooter. And I think that helps us out in games. Like she hits some big shots for us whenever we're down. So I think that helps us out a lot. But her defense is also really good. Like I know I said I thought she just focused on that her freshman, sophomore year, but her defense is still good at times. She's not ball watching or trying to cheat. But, I think she's I don't want to say versatile because – I don't know. She's kind of short, but I think she's a really good player for us. She helps us out a lot. Yeah.
I think AJ's gotten a lot better with her decision-making from the past couple of years. A couple of years ago, she would have tried to drive into some 6'2" girls, try to throw something up. This year, she's been a lot better about that and creating a different shot for herself and letting the game come to her and not forcing stuff.
Yeah, kind of going back on what they said, AJ is probably our best shooter, so that definitely helps us out in situations when we're down. we get the momentum. AJ makes a shot, and we kind of just roll from there. And AJ has a little bit of a fiery personality, so she can get a little mouthy. And at times, like, it's not always the best thing, but it definitely helps us, kind of motivates us a little bit and gives us a little kick.
Let's talk about McKenna. Her first year back playing basketball. I've gotten a chance to know her and spend some time with you guys and her. And, I mean, she seems like the life of a party. Sounds like a solid roommate in the hotel rooms. Just what has it been like for you guys having McKenna back and playing basketball this year?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's been pretty good. She's very positive on the court, and she kind of just keeps us all together. Like, there's times whenever, like, I'll be in my head or, like, one of them will be in their head, and she'll just, like, pick us up and let us know, like, next shot, like, it's okay. And I think she helps us a lot, like, with height. We're not, like, athleticness and, like, actually having a left side. As you know, most of us are all right-handed, and so it's really easy to just, I'll say, make them drive left. With McKenna, she gets that first step, and it's usually a wide-open layup on the left side, and she's pretty good at finishing on her left side. And then defensively, she's quick enough to, like, get a stop, and she knows foot baseline, and she just knows the fundamentals, which helps us a lot because we have Riley or Ava guarding one of their better players because they're long, lengthy, athletic. And then me and McKenna are mainly in help side, and I think it helps a lot because she's tall enough and she's a high enough vertical to be able to play good defense down there.
I think McKenna has helped a lot with us mentally. She's very positive with everybody. She's here for a good time, not a long time. I was thinking of that quote in my head. But volleyball is her main sport. She does care about how she performs, but she just is trying to be positive for everybody, and she cares more about us winning than her actual performance or anybody else's performance. She's just a very positive person to have on the team, and I think that helps with us a lot.
Yeah, kind of going off that, I feel like with volleyball being her main sport, like Riley said, she doesn't really care about how she's doing in the game. I do think that she puts other people in front of herself, which is a good thing, I think, to have, like, as a teammate. She's always picking me up because sometimes I tend to get in my head, and she's always there. Sometimes at halftime, she'll, like, sit me down on the bench and talk to me. And then I also think for her, like, not playing for a couple of years and just coming back randomly and, like, just showing up to the first practice, like, not even wearing her own shoes. Didn't you give her, like, a pair of shoes to wear? Yeah, she just didn't have anything for basketball. I think she's really good. She can score on the left side, like AJ said. She's got a pretty good left hand. She's a good finisher. So, yeah, I think it's just kind of like a crazy comeback to come back from 8th grade and just kind of start and put up good points and minutes for us.
Matt, how's McKenna done adjusting, getting back into playing basketball for the first time in a couple of years?
Well, the good thing about it is Sharpie markers are pretty easy to erase off your arms because it seems like every game she's writing something new or a new play or something on her arms to remember it. But in all seriousness, she's been a joy to coach this year. Like the girls have said, she brings a very positive energy, and it just seems like she's always in the right place at the right time. She just has a knack for getting that rebound or being in the right spot in transition to get that layup. For not playing for the last 2 years, she hasn't missed much. She's been huge for us, just due to depth and due to athleticism. She's made us, who's to say any one of these girls, if we didn't have them on the team, I don't know if we would be at the state finals.
McKenna, do you have a celebration plan for when you hit your first three next year?
Oh, I haven't really thought about it because I don't plan on making a three, but maybe going into my senior year, I'll think about it, ask my friends. I mean, I actually think if I did shoot a three, make it or miss it, I'd get taken out of the game and maybe not play the next. So right now I'm just worried about learning how to shoot a right-handed layup. So.
And there's a lot of truth to that too.
Amazing. For all of you guys, you have one senior on the team, Reagan Loy. I'll let you guys have the floor and just tell us what she's meant to you guys, this program, and just what it means to send her out a state champion. McKenna, why don't you start, and we'll just go across the board.
I'm so glad that Reagan was able to finish her senior year winning her last game. I know that we mean a lot to Reagan just as much as she means to us. We love Reagan. She's such a high-spirited person. As she said, the last 10 seconds when she goes in, we're about to win. I think that kind of just shows her character a lot. Because she said it as she laughed, like, she doesn't take it personal, like, she puts everybody else above herself, and that's such a good trait to have, not only in basketball, but for the rest of your life. So kudos to Reagan.
Yeah, I play multiple sports with Reagan. She's just like us in every other sport too. She's very positive, very worried about everybody else around her, and she just loves every one of us. And her being a senior and getting barely any minutes compared to last year, she played almost the whole game, and I think it really shows how mature she is and how much she actually cares about the sport and about everybody else around her, not just herself. We like over the past couple of years and some of our seniors, we've had some complaining about that stuff, and she's just so mature and she knows like they put the work in. They want it. Like, it's not my main sport. Like, I think it just shows how mature she is and how much she cares for everybody around her.
Me and Reagan, we hang out a lot. We're very similar people. So we're always together. And I think Reagan, she's accepted her role in the team, and it was very hard for her at first, I think. But at the end of the day, she just wanted to win, and she knew that we could with what we had. And she was still such an important player on the team. Just like McKenna, very positive person, always bringing people up. She's just a great person, and I think she handled her role very well this year.
Yeah, I think Reagan and McKenna are kind of similar in that way of being like a happy-go-lucky person. I think Reagan, being the only senior, is like she was trying to be a role model, and I think she did just that. She's a pretty big role model for all of us, I think I could say. And I think kind of like they also tapped into, like AJ said, with her playing like her freshman and sophomore year, getting a lot of minutes this year, coming in and not getting as many, just the way that she handled that and like her maturity. Coach Vick talks about maturity a lot with our team and how we've matured throughout the years. And I think Reagan plays a pretty big part in that.
Matt? Yeah, I mean, Reagan's a special kid. You know, her sophomore year, she tore her ACL, didn't get to play at all. And then her junior year, she got thrown into the fire. She was a starter for us, and we didn't have any depth. I mean, those 5 girls played, I would say, 99% of the game. And for her to lose her spot, she could have easily been a bad teammate. She could have, been selfish and kind of been a cancer to the locker room. But she was the exact opposite. She accepted her role. She knew that in the best interest of the team, that her minutes would be taken away. And, it just shows the character of that kid and how great she is to not only lose your starting spot, but to lose a lot of your playing time and to still have a positive attitude with your coaches and your teammates. Just shows the kind of kid she is.
Last question, Matt, and then we'll let everybody go. Just for you in this season, getting to coach this group, being around these girls, I guess just speak to that and what this season has been like for you, and I guess just how much fun it's been.
Well, I mean, these girls, I mean, rightfully so. It's a compliment to them, but the bullseye and the pressure has been on this group since they got to high school. I remember one of our players' sibling put on Facebook saying that this team's going to win 3 out of the next 4 state championships, and I was like, that's so idiotic. It's hard enough to win 1, let alone 3 out of 4. And the pressure on this group has been pretty crazy, and for them to actually have the bullseye, we started the year number 1 and we finished the year number 1. To be able to do that and see them persevere and mature over this whole season has been a blessing, and it's been amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming on with us. Congratulations again on the state championship, and have a great summer. Riley, don't let Danny pick on you too much, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
It was state champion Borden with us here on the scorers table. Norwell is in the queue, but Danny, I will let you give a couple thoughts just to set us up and get us into the Norwell discussion.
I think you want Norwell here or Borden?
Yeah, unless you want to have a closing thought on Borden. Otherwise, we'll go to Norwell. I'll let you decide.
Listen, Norwell. There's so much to unpack with this game. Okay, so congratulations to Norwell. There's only one team that got Greensburg this year, and to win that basketball game and do it in their style. Do it at their pace. They didn't have to play Greensburg's style to win this basketball game. That was a Norwell. That was a Norwell game. Okay, and what I mean by that is the 1-3-1 and the dribble drive, and we make so much of it. But if you watch the game, it was just so true. I have to start with, I'm not actually going to start with the 1-3-1. Okay. I'm actually going to start with the dribble drive. And there's a saying in coaching that, 1v1, you got to get it done. 1v2, it's not for you. And 1v3, you come sit with me. Greensburg decided to stay home against the dribble drive. And so Norris and Rosswurm and Saalfrank, those three kids in particular, found themselves in the middle of the floor, 1v1. They played off of 2 feet. They were getting to their spots in the paint, and they just danced into layups. Their ability to score in within the gaps of the dribble drive, to me, was the difference in the basketball game. I'll give you a statistic. It is unofficial because it was me just kind of thinking about it, watching the game. I had to look up. They finished with 7 assists, but their first 41 points of the basketball game, they only had 2 assists, which means that they attacked Greensburg off the bounce in different matchups and came up with points. Their ability to execute their dribble drive against a man that was going to not allow you to kick for 3 was the difference. But if you look at how, we talk about the system, right? The system is spacing and implementation, but it's also the skill work and the footwork to be able to score 1v1 at the rim. Eric said it in his halftime interview. We're getting to our spots to the front of the rim. You could see it play out, but those kids performed on the offensive side of things. And then the 1-3-1. We'll talk about the 1-3-1. It just caused so much problems. I think one of the nuances, we talked about the nuance in between games. I thought they provided hard traps for Greensburg that just made them uncomfortable. Greensburg had never scored this year less than 52 points before the state championship game. Norwell's 1-3-1 held them to 44 points. And
season low in field goals too, by the way.
Yes. Just a Norwell game. Both sides of the floor, they didn't really have to make tremendous adjustment on either side. They were the best version of themselves on both sides, and that's why they're the state champ.
Danny, I think you nailed it. That's exactly what I was thinking. When you watch that ball game, Norwell, their identity, they were just comfortable. They were playing their basketball. And then on the opposite side, you saw Greensburg for maybe the first time this year that they were trying to figure out, who are we going to be in this basketball game? And as a player, it's one thing to watch a team, watch film on them, but it's another, once you get on the floor and you actually are defending them, especially Norwell and their dribble drive, you can't tell how fast players are when you watch them on film. But, I think that Greensburg, unfortunately, it was a state championship game for them. They were trying to figure out, how do we play against Norwell? And Norwell was the better team.
That's what I wrote the night of, was just, we should have seen it coming. First of all, the 1-3-1 is so weird to play against when you're seeing it for the first time. And they mentioned that on the podcast too, Danny, was they'd never really seen a 1-3-1 before, let alone one run as well as Norwell. And then 2, this is just their MO this year, right? Norwell's, it's just nobody expected them to be back here at the beginning of the season. One person did in the middle of the season, me. Danny did too. But then going into that game, nobody really gave him a shot because Greensburg was this juggernaut. That's a massive compliment to Greensburg, not any disrespect to Norwell. And yet again, they find a way to exceed expectations. And that's what they did all year. And what was fun talking to Eric about the press was that he was most proud of not the 19 turnovers they generated, which were massive, but it was just the shots that they were forcing them into take. They were forcing them into some bad shots, speeding them up, getting them into corners, and they just executed it to such a high level. And he said there's no real such thing as perfection, but it's hard to say that they didn't come really close to that perfect line last night or Saturday night.
Yeah. And I'll give the final thought here before we bring them in, and just on going back to the effectiveness that they had in their dribble drive. Because people like John Calipari have run it with Memphis and Kentucky, you have this misconception that you have to have explosion like Derrick Rose or John Wall or somebody like that to be effective in the dribble drive that can get into single gap and 2 gap drives and get to the front of the rim. Rosswurm has some explosion to her, and some of the other Norwell people, the best thing that they do isn't the explosive first step, but they always get to their spot. They just always seem to get there, whether it's Saalfrank, and then they just do such a good job of playing off of 2 feet. I think when it was 9-9, I turned to the coaches that we were watching the basketball game with, and I said, if Norwell continues to get to their spots like this, they're going to own them. And that aged really well, because I think they continued to get to their spots. And I don't know, we'll have to ask them when they come on. I don't know that Macie and Addison particularly expected to be singled like that with 2 feet in the paint. But once they got comfortable that they were going to get to that spot with relative ease, they just used their entire bag of footwork to just make layups and get shots. And then, the big kill shot, I mentioned the 41 points and the 2 assists. The 42nd, 43rd, and 44th point came off of a drive and kick Saalfrank 3. And so if you're getting to your spot, you're eventually going to have to bring help. We cannot continue to allow Norwell to get 2 feet in the paint to hurt us. They bring help. They kick to Saalfrank. She hits a 3, and it's a 9-point lead. And then suddenly it's just like, whoa, this is Norwell's day. But very impressive.
Macie had some huge shots. Vanessa drew some high praise from Jason Simpson, Greensburg's coach, who said she's fast on film, but then you see her in person, and you just realize how much you appreciate it. And Addison Norris was huge physical presence at the bottom of that 1-3-1 zone. She had a bunch of steals, some really big plays down there. So with that, Danny and Courtney, we bring on Macie, Saalfrank, Vanessa, Rosswurm, Addison Norris. Coach Eric Thornton, we hope to have him along here soon. But how are you girls doing?
Great. Good. How are you?
Yeah.
Great. So just talk us through that experience of finally breaking through Saturday night, and has any of it really sank in yet that this is all real? Addison, why don't you start us? We'll just work left to right.
I don't think it started off that it really hit like the night of, but once I woke up Sunday morning, it did. Just everyone saying congrats and giving me compliments. And we had a big meetup at Norwell, and there was a lot of people that showed up, and that really hit there. So,
I mean, I still feel like it feels surreal. It honestly didn't even feel real until we got our blue ribbon medals at the end of the game. We were all just so excited, and even like Addison said, even Sunday morning, I'm still in shock that we won. I'm not shocked that we won, but it's just a great feeling to have, and just to finally win, especially after last year, it feels great.
Yeah, I mean, same as them. I don't think it's still totally set in yet, but I mean, I'm definitely so happy for all of us and just the experience that we got to have, and how much our community showed out.
How much did being your guys' second year, so obviously last year 63-60, but that's now in the past in history. How much did that fuel you guys, this off season, as well as what was this year? How did it feel different playing back in Banker's Life after you guys had played there last year? Were you guys more calm from the tip? Do you think that played a huge factor in you guys being able to just go out and play your identity of basketball?
I think that last year we were just more shocked that we were there, and this year we really emphasized winning. And even Thornton said it's all about winning. It's all about winning. He kept saying that the whole weekend. So that was really a big part of our win.
Yeah, I feel like being there last year definitely helped. I remember playing, even warming up last year during the state finals game. You can just feel the nerves, and just looking at all the fans. It's definitely a lot different compared to semi-state or any regional game. Just being there, just knowing how what it feels like, and just be already playing in a big crowd like that has definitely helped us to have more composure during the game.
Yeah, just going in there knowing that we had experience last year and knowing what to expect with the crowd and how loud it's going to be. I think this year we went in there, our coach called it, this year it was a business trip, taking care of business that we didn't finish last year. So we all went in there with that mindset, and I think that really helped us.
I know that Coach Thornton is a very player-oriented coach, players coach. I'm sure that he talked to you guys about, what are some things you guys like that we did last year during the state? What are some things that you think we should do differently? Is there anything that you guys switched up this past week leading up to state or down in Indy that was different from last year that you think really helped you guys mentally prepare for the game?
I would say even practicing on Tuesday at Gamebridge, it was more like Macie said, business-like. Last year we were more there was a lot of pictures taken before practice, and we were there, and then it was more we're shocked we're here. But this year we got there and we got things done, and then we just left. So
I feel like some adjustments we made were definitely backing up our 1-3-1, especially, I mean, I watched like a little bit of the state finals game before we played this year from the previous year, and we just started a lot higher, and that just allowed Gibson Southern to just have larger gaps to drive. So just kind of condensing our 1-3-1 and just kind of making it harder for them to drive and get to the basket definitely helped us a lot.
Yeah, just going in there and being fully confident that we know we can take the trophy home helped a lot. And just the difference in last year, I think we were all really wanting the blue medals instead of the red. And the week before practices, we didn't really do a whole lot of contact because he didn't want us to get hurt or anything. So just the week leading into that, he definitely focused on keeping us all safe and healthy.
Vanessa, did you say you rewatched the last year's state final before Saturday's game?
Yes, I did. I was sitting with Addison and Jada, and while we were waiting for Panera Bread, we were watching the beginning of that.
So Addison and Vanessa, then, like, what was the thought process behind that? Was it just motivation, or obviously some schematic stuff going in there as well?
I think it was some motivation, just kind of getting reminded of that horrible feeling after you lose in such a big game like that. And also just to take some mental notes of like, okay, this is how Gibson Southern attacked us. This is how they beat us. And just looking at that before we played definitely helped us.
What about you, Addison? Like, was it your decision to pull it up on your phone, or did somebody just kind of pull it up and you guys went with it?
I think we just pulled it up and we were watching it just because we had time to waste. But I think it was actually a really good idea, just getting that like little look of the atmosphere, and then like, oh my gosh, we're going to go into that tonight. And then even like just looking at the mistakes we made and like realizing what we need to fix. So
let me ask about the offense. We'll get into the 1-3-1 here in a little bit. You guys were backstage and you listened to my comments about how they stayed home, and you guys had all this space in the middle of the floor, and two gaps were two gaps, and you were able to get into the paint and work off of 2 feet to get shots. Addison, we'll start with you and we'll go left to right here. Just talk about, my read. Am I wrong on that? Were you expecting them to stay home and give you that opportunity? When did you guys realize that you guys were getting to your spots? Just talk about you guys on the offensive side within your system and the plays that you made. Addison?
Mm-hmm. I think that their defense is really tight. And so we had a lot of opportunities just to drive and backdoor. And also, like, during halftime, Thornton was like, we need to get to the rim. And so I think we took advantage of that. And every play we made, we drove. And, like, patience. We also emphasized that. Driving, and then if it's not there, kick it out, drive again, kick it out, drive again. I think we really said that all game is patience. And I think that was a really big part of how we won. So.
Yeah. I would say I had a feeling that Greensburg would I knew they were really good defensively, and I feel like Norwell is usually known as a really good three-point shooting team, and we're not really known for being like very well like driving to the rim. So I knew that we'd have to be more patient, and even starting from the beginning of last season, whenever we had those 7 seniors, Thornton really emphasized like during practicing the fundamentals of playing off of 2 feet, and that's really just helped us. It helped us last year, but also helped us coming into this year, just playing off of 2 feet. And like Addison said, just being more patient with the ball and knowing and like not forcing shots. And if it's not there, like we'll eventually get what we want if we just keep being patient and keep running our offense.
Yeah, just going off what they talked about, their defense was very tight, which kept a lot of us from shooting threes, which, I mean, we're all pretty good at. So we did have to drive in and use 2 feet to get in the paint. And I don't think we were really expecting to get as many shots off in the paint as we did. But Thornton just kept saying, even if we weren't making some of them, he was just like, they're good shots, so keep taking them. They're going to fall. It's going to go your way at some point. And I think we took advantage of what he was saying, and we continued to keep doing that, and it paid off in the end.
I've got a question specifically for Addison. Addison, there was another 1-3-1 team in the last few years that won the state championship for Donna Buckley, where Ashlyn Shade played the point very, very similarly to Vanessa Rosswurm in that 1-3-1. Reagan Wilson actually played the bottom. You play the bottom in the 1-3-1, and one of the things that you can see, I'm not sure if you've watched the game yet on IHSAATV.org, but you had like what it looked like you were attacked by a velociraptor. You had like scratches on your arm. I think you lost a nail. I think you were pretty bruised up. I mean, playing the bottom against Leah West and the physicality and the height and strength of Claire Larison, like that's a big job. So I came out of that game thinking, like, how tough is this kid? Just talk about that, just kind of quarterbacking the defense from the back end. Obviously, Vanessa does a great job up front, but the last line of defense is you, and you did a great job. So just talk about your role within that defense.
So during practice, I guess we practiced a lot about Leah, like where she's going to be either on the free throw line or down on the block. And she switched a couple times. She was on the free throw line and down on the block. But obviously we didn't want her to get the ball because she's really good at getting to the basket. So I think that whenever she got it, it was like mine and our post job to make sure to wall up or make sure she doesn't get the shot she wants. Even on like deep wings, that's my job too, just trapping there with our wings. And I think that a lot of my steals came from just them getting like stuck up in the corner and not wanting to get it out of there. So I think it was my job and the wings job, and we did really good at giving pressure right there. So
good for you. Vanessa, your individual question. I was very hesitant to say it on the preview show, but I did say that I thought you had to play well for you to win, and you did. So your emotion after the basketball game, was it relief? Was it, did you put pressure on yourself? Did you feel pressure going into that game? But, when Alpha is expected to do something, it puts a lot on you. And I think you wore a lot going into that game. Just talk about your place in that game. Your statistical line was really good, but you played really well. Just all the deflections and the disruption that you caused on the defensive side, your ability to make shots on the offensive side, get to your spot. You were great and went a long way to being a state champ. So just comment on that.
Going into the game, honestly, I didn't really feel that many nerves. Like I already mentioned earlier, just being there last year definitely helped with the nerves. During the game, I just really didn't feel pressured since I was already there. I just kind of let it come to me, and I feel like in the game, I started to force some shots that I usually don't force, but I think that was just a lot of my adrenaline. But I never really viewed my role as a lot of pressure. Obviously, I know I have a large role, but I really just embrace it, and I don't really put that pressure on me because regardless of how many points or how many rebounds or whatever I have, like it really doesn't matter as long as I'm playing my part and getting others involved. And it doesn't, like, none of those stats really matter as long as we just win. So I was really just focused on winning, and regardless of how well I did, I just wanted to do what was best for my team.
And then I got one for Macie. Macie, I was watching with a bunch of coaches, and people were asking questions about who Vanessa Rosswurm is and who Addison is. And I had a lot of fun with them. I was like, look at Macie Saalfrank. She was on the JV team last year. And here you are hitting, I mean, I called it the kill shot, the one that made it 41 to 4, gave you your 44th point, that three. This is not just a Saturday night thing where you have all year, whether it's the 4 threes you hit against Columbia City in the semi-state championship, whether it was the 2 monster threes that you hit in the state championship, you're not supposed to be like doing this, Macie. Like your performance has just been outstanding and at a state championship level. Just talk about your role within the team, where your mind was, maybe not having been there, quite honestly, Macie.
Yeah, just throughout the season, I mean, learning my role in the team. Obviously, I didn't have one really on varsity last year, but coming into playing with these girls and all having different roles. I mean, I've always kind of been the shooter growing up. I mean, I obviously love just popping shots whenever I can. I have a pretty quick release, so I think the threes that I do hit, I kind of have this thing where it's like, don't think about it. If you're going to shoot it, shoot it. If I think too much, then something always seems to go wrong. So just doing my role has really been fun, and doing it alongside these girls. I mean, we all have so much support with each other and trusting each other, and the amount of love we all have for each other helps within the team. So going there and knowing that I have Vanessa to help me along the way with so much experience, and Addie too, just working together on offensive and defensive side it's been amazing to learn alongside these girls this year.
Macie, how has playing high school basketball, has that kind of changed your perspective and I just kind of grown your love for the sport again?
Yeah, I mean, just obviously Norwell's program is a very well-known one, and just being a part of it is something that you can't ever replace. The memories that you create is also something that you'll never forget. I mean, the games you win and lose, you might forget them in a couple of years, but obviously not the state championship. But the memories that you make. So I think traveling different places and being a part of what Thornton has built with his program has definitely changed my perspective in a positive way.
One thing that I think you don't forget is the way that you feel after a state championship game. And so within 1 year, you guys have had the feeling of defeat, but you guys have had the feeling of waking up on Sunday morning as the champs. What did it feel like this year waking up on Sunday morning as a champ?
I think it felt very positive. Last year we had the day after a ceremony, and that's where like everyone comes in and we have the trophy set up and we talk about how we played and how the year went, and it was just different feeling last year. It was sad. It kind of felt like a funeral. We all were saying this year, and all the seniors were gone. But this year when we came in, we all were so excited and happy, and everyone was cheering and clapping. So it's definitely a different feel.
Yeah, this year, just waking up on Sunday morning, it just felt great. And like I already mentioned before, it felt surreal that just happened, but it's something that you'll never forget. And, I woke up, I was like, man, like my whole body's exhausted, but it was definitely worth it. Like, regardless of what happened in that game, like everything worked out the way it should have worked out, or at least for us. And, like we just won and we worked so hard for that. And we had a ceremony at 6:00 at Norwell, and just seeing all our fans show up for us and support us, not just there, but just throughout like our run this season, and just thanking them was really special. And last year it was really focused on kind of saying goodbye to the seniors, since it was kind of a sad way to end their season. But this year it was really just focused on just celebrating for our first state title, and that's something special you'll never forget.
Yeah, I mean, Sunday morning, like Vanessa said, woke up, you could feel it in the body, and stayed up pretty late Saturday night. So I was still pretty tired, but I mean, you obviously don't forget the night before. And me and Vanessa went shopping on Sunday. So all day we were like, hey, like we're state champs. So it was definitely like a different feeling. Like I said before, it hasn't totally set in yet, but that Sunday night, just the amount of people that showed up and all of our trophies sitting there, and all of us just lined up and hearing people talk about the success that we had this season, it definitely showed how much we proved to people that what we could accomplish.
For all three of you, two questions. Did you go to any of the early games? Did you see the crowds for the early games? And then for you guys, when you step out on the floor for warm-ups for the 3A game, what was that like as players, just being inside that raucous atmosphere?
We watched a little bit of the 2A online, and we saw videos from like Instagram accounts of the 2A game, and it was packed. Like I couldn't believe that many people were there, but we were hoping that many people would show up. But I think our community travels really well, and they traveled really well. So at least on our side, I feel like a lot of people were there and to support us. So
yeah, we didn't watch the earlier games, but what Addison was talking about, I think I saw a post by you, Brian, whenever you posted the crowd of South Knox and like the 2A game, and we were just like, wow, like this is happening like right now, like this is happening today, and that it really just like sunk in. And like Addison was saying earlier, like that's like our Norwell Nation's gonna show up, and we're gonna have a big crowd just like them. Just being there and like warming up, like I remember last year I just took a moment just to let it all sink in and just really cherish the moment. And I did the same this year. I'm just like, it can't get any better than this. Like, this is everything that you could like imagine, just playing basketball for all these years, and just to finally be there and to actually win just felt amazing. And just be on the court again, especially with my best friends. It's a great group of kids, and I couldn't have done it with a better group of girls.
Yeah, the experience from last year, we kind of knew what to expect, but walking through the tunnel and just looking up and seeing the sea of blue that was on our side and even the other side just shows how much people really care about their girls' basketball teams. And while we were warming up, it kind of almost made it a little less nerve-wracking knowing that we've played in front of all of our Norwell fans before, so they're here to support us and not to, I don't know, make fun of us or to bash us for things. So knowing that we had so much support and just how loud they were for us and being surrounded by girls that I love playing with was just an awesome feeling.
And one other question, looking to the future now, I know you're still celebrating the 3A title, but next year you move up to 4A. Everybody's coming back, right? Just your thoughts on next year and how excited you are for the challenge and the opportunity to repeat.
I'm already excited. Even today, Thornton brought us 3A to his classroom, and we were planning out our summer schedule, and he was thinking about doing a camp at one of the colleges like Butler or one of the top camps for the summer. And I was just got already excited. It just ended this weekend, and I was already excited. But even thinking about who we're going to play in 4A, we're already playing one of the toughest schedules. So it's not going to be like that different. It's not going to be that challenge, or it will be challenging, and that's good for us. But even sectionals and regionals, thinking past that, it will be challenging, and I think that's what we do best is make adjustments, and I think that we fight through that and do it together as a team. So.
Yeah, I'm really excited for next year. Obviously, like Addison mentioned before, our schedule won't be greatly different since, we already play a lot of 4A teams. I'm just excited to play those 4A teams and just to experience something. Like, obviously, we are viewed as 3A, but next year we'll be viewed as 4A and also 3A state champs. And people might still underestimate us because, okay, you won state in 3A, that's not 4A. So I think it'll be interesting to see, what people think of us. But I'm just really excited to play with these girls for one more year and just to really have fun in our last year together.
Yeah, from the beginning, Thornton had us doing a tough schedule, and I think that's really something that helped us get all the way to the state championship, was just proving to people, even earlier in the season, how close we came to some of those bigger 4A schools. A lot of people probably aren't going to expect us to do well, next year maybe, but we know that we did pretty well against some of the schools already, and I think making another state run won't be something that's impossible as long as we believe in ourselves, even if other people don't, just because of how much pressure was put on us this year, and I think we handled it really well.
I've got a question that anybody can take, really. The blue bandanas. Okay, so there's a blue bandana tied on the rim after cutting the nets down in each of the rounds, sectional, regional, semi-state, and state. And before they put the nets up for the 4A game, they had to untie a blue bandana that you guys had tied on the rim at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So, Ness, you answered the question on the floor in the post-game interview. I'll let you start and then hear your thoughts, your teammates' thoughts with Addie and Macie. But tell the audience about the blue bandanas and how you guys rallied around those.
I don't know the exact year when it started, but it started a really long time ago. We were playing a team and they were making fun of us for being hillbillies and being farm kids. And, they underestimated us, but we ended up winning that championship game. And after that, obviously they weren't laughing, making fun of us anymore. So whenever they were cutting down the nets, they just put a bandana just to really show that even though you consider us hillbillies or farm kids, we beat you guys, so it doesn't really matter. So it's been really cool just to embrace that tradition throughout the season, and just tying that on the rim after the state finals game was just really special for not just for me but for our whole community.
Yeah, I got a little history right here. The tradition of the bandana started 50 years ago. Norwell has left a farmer's bandana tied to the rim after the tournament championship nets were cut down. The tradition was started after Norwell won the sectional championship in 1972. At the regional game, it was opening school referred to Norwell players as fans of a bunch of farmers. In 1973, overalls, flannel shirts, and feed caps. After the Knights won the regional and tied the bandana to the rim, no one was laughing at Norwell anymore, and the traditional lives on today.
I would call this an agricultural business trip that you guys.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. You're our favorite farm kids, at least on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Congratulations on the state championship.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Macie, Saalfrank, Vanessa, Rosswurm, Addison, Norris here on the scores table. Danny, Hollie Eaves, and Bren Hill are in the queue ready. But I will let you give one thought on that 2A game before we let Hollie come on here and light you up for doubting South Knox and giving them so much bulletin board material.
Okay.
That was Danny Riego again.
Okay.
For anybody listening to the South Knox community, Danny Riego. So if you're going to start, make sure you
they will not let you off easy. Look, their expectation for South Knox it was so high throughout the year, and that's a very difficult thing to make good on when everybody else says how well you're supposed to do. But they were battle tested. They played a difficult schedule. They got everything they needed to along the way. But for me, the game boiled down to two things. I think it boiled down first to the performance of Kendall Hill, and we'll ask her about it. I mean, she had a game high 18. She had a double-double, coupling that with 11 rebounds. By the way, probably the smallest kid on the floor. She's a 2027 who'd never been there. Like, she's supposed to be nervous. She hadn't ever played in the state championship. Get this statistic, Hank and Courtney. Every single point they scored up until the final possession before the media timeout of the second quarter was scored or assisted by Kendall Hill. Every single point. Like, and this is, again, a 27, smallest person on the floor. She also got the Van Meter matchup. Like, and that's one of their studs. And she made life very difficult for Taylor Van Meter. I think held her to single digits. She was very good on both ends of the floor. South Knox, with their graduation of their great class, is still going to be a contender because Kendall Hill did so good. But let me add this, and we're going to ask her about this, okay? Somebody told me she also has her pilot's license. Like, I think somebody said that she's maybe like 50 flights away from being able to fly a plane by herself. Like, so she's guarding Van Meter. She's scoring and assisting every point up until halfway through the second quarter. She has a double-double in the state championship game, and she flies plays. Like, is there anything that kid can't do? I mean, we're going to find out because we'll ask Hollie and Kendall the same thing. But the second thing, too, Kendall's defensive performance on Van Meter was great. But Grace Detweiler is a kid who doesn't share the Brendel and Ellebob lines. That kid was so good on Courtney Matthew in individual half-court. Man, their defensive efforts with Grace Detweiler on Courtney Matthew. And Ellie Burke got part of that assignment too. But they didn't run a lot of switching. They didn't run a lot of trapping. Grace Detweiler was asked to keep Courtney Matthew out of the paint, and she did a great job. And their defensive effort was really good. My two take-homes from a schematic coaching perspective were those two things: Kendall Hill making plays and the ability of Grace Detweiler to guard Courtney Matthew and win that matchup for him. Congratulations, South Knox. Courtney?
My take on this, number one, it was they made a point to everybody who was in attendance. Like, there was no doubt that South Knox was the greatest team. But something that stands out to me is the way you saw the South Knox community show out. And this was their first state championship in any varsity sport. Like, that is special. And this group of ladies, the legacy that they're going to leave from this team on that community is you can't even put it into words. They absolutely made history for that community. And so congratulations to the coaches and the players, like, legendary.
Just an unbelievable job, too. They did it while having kind of, by their standards, just kind of a wobbly night offensively. The defense, though, was just phenomenal. It just seemed like everybody contributed. It was just unbelievable. And the crowd, I mean, that's the thing that I will remember most about that game. I'll remember two things. It's just how dominant South Knox was and just the ability to live up to those expectations. Because, Courtney, as you know, I mean, that's nothing easy. The burden that comes with to have those expectations on you to win a state championship and to do so in a decisive fashion like they did. I mean, gosh, I remember talking to coaches down here, and they're like, yeah, everybody's playing for second place. Like, it was a foregone conclusion. That's a lot to put on young kids in a program. And then, two, just the crowd. I was wrapping up with Borden, so I was a little late. I think they were into player intros, and that video that Vanessa referenced, I just kind of did a little quick spin around because it was like a Hollie, and then I said a bunch of bad words. This is incredible. I just pulled out the phone and I just did a little spin around just to show the crowd. Because, I mean, South Knox filled up half the arena. Rensselaer Central filled up the other half. They're a little harder to see in that video because they had went with a blackout theme, but just unbelievable energy. for those in attendance, I mean, we witnessed something special. Like, I was a special team, and I mean, what they did to Rensselaer Central, I saw them earlier this month too. I mean, that's a really good team that they took care of. So just a really impressive performance. Tip of cap to them. And in talking to everybody afterwards too, I mean, you just get a sense of how much it meant to them to bring that home for the community. Hollie especially as an alum herself, but it was just such a cool thing and such a fun cool staple, I think, to that morning session.
From the very beginning too, like when they were walking out for the opening tip, Hollie was gesturing to the South Knox crowd to get on their feet and make noise, and it was deafening in there. And they had done nothing but just walk on the floor, and it never stopped. That was, I felt like just because of the crowd noise and because of the community support, there's such a great basketball team as is, but it felt like there were 6 of them out there, 7 of them at times, because it was just so loud and deafening. And I think the kids played off of that crowd. So it was from the very beginning, and I don't think it ever stopped.
With that, we bring on Coach Hollie Anson-Eaves and Bren Hill. What's up, state champs?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's great. How are you guys doing? You holding up, staying healthy? 2 of you?
2 of us. Everybody else took some sick days. Ella's been really sick, and Kendall just texted me, and she is sick. So it's just me and her surviving right now.
Bren, for you, I mean, has it all sank in yet that you're a state champion? And what was it like at school this morning?
It hasn't sunk in quite yet. It was weird not going to practice after school, but everybody's telling me like what a great job we did. Even at work, people were coming in and telling us how good we did.
For both of you guys, I mean, what does it mean to have brought the first state championship in any sport in school history to South Knox?
It's really important for our community, and it's just a sense of pride I think everybody's carrying now and walking a little bit higher today just because, you know, these girls brought this state title home. And yesterday we had a big pep session, pep rally, and I mean, the stands were full again. It's just been an amazing ride, and to bring it home has been amazing.
I agree. It's just been great to make history in our school, especially because nobody else has been to state. It's really good for our program, and I'm just really excited to be a part of it.
Hollie, I have to ask about the prediction. I saw you before the basketball game, and it was already. I don't even think you said hello. You're like, we're going to win this. I'm coming on the show, and I'm going to talk to Hank, okay?
Yes.
So I'll give you the opportunity to discuss with him some of the things that you needed to discuss with him, or thank him for the extra motivation that you provided him. But, Hollie, the floor is yours.
Well, Rensselaer, they have been like super nice and super, you know, just their P's and Q's. And, you know, you look for that fire as a coach, trying to get your kids a little extra motivated or just throw a little heat in there. And I think he predicted that they were going to win. And we were like, I gave that to the girls and they ran with it. And I was like, oh, it's on now.
Boy, I'm in a fog. I don't even remember picking Rensselaer. As I recall it, I just said something nice about Rensselaer because I felt bad for them that everybody was picking against them. I was like, guys, they have a chance because they legitimately. That's a good team you guys took down there. But yeah, no, I did not intend to give you guys bulletin board material. I mean, that would just be. I mean, that'd be against the Geneva Convention to give a team like you guys any extra material. But no, shouts to Riego for gaslighting for this whole thing.
No, listen, but it's also affirmation of credibility too. You know, I mean, it's for you to write something and for the other team to use it as motivation, I think says a lot about your impact in the space. But Bren, you know, a lot of people will brag on the seniors. A lot of people brag on your sister. Okay. You were backstage. You heard my comments, a double. And I would like for you to end with the fact that she flies plane. I mean, somebody told me that. I should have known that. I think somebody had told me that before, that she also has her pilot's license. But, I mean, she's not supposed to be able to get a double-double as a sophomore and guard Van Meter and hold her to single digits and then fly home, fly a plane home? Like, what's the deal? Brag on your sister, Brent.
I think she's just amazing. She has an incredible work ethic. We're always competing against each other. So I try to push and make her better, but she also pushes our team. She's a big leader, even though like me, the seniors are the captains. She's a big leader and pushes us. She holds us accountable, and she had to step up, and that's what she did. She had a big defensive assignment, and she executed it very well. And she does things with my dad all the time. My dad has his pilot's license, so they just go off and do their own thing. So
You get to ride passenger in those flights?
what?
You ride with her on those flights, or you just, no, I'm good?
No, I don't even want to ride with her in the car.
Hollie, I gotta ask you a question. I love being wrong. And I was wrong. I actually had Kendall Hill guarding Courtney Matthew leading into the basketball game, and here you are matching Grace Detweiler on Courtney Matthew. She did a tremendous job. That's a very talented player, one of the 5 best kids at her position within the class. And you gave the assignment to Grace Detweiler. When did you come up with that? When did you tell her? What was her reaction? Talk about the execution. I was fascinated by that.
So with my group, we kind of have like first and then secondary rotations. So, if things go wrong and not how we plan, that's our secondary backup. But from the very beginning, we told Grace she was going to guard her. When Grace is locked in, and she plays amazing. She is one of I have a lot of kids that are underrated on our team, but she's one of the underrated kids. She gets after it. She digs her toes in. Whatever you need her to do, if you need her to crash hard or keep somebody off the board, she's the person for the job, because she's going to make sure it doesn't happen.
Question for both of you about Ella Bobe. Her performance reminded me a lot of, and I mean this as kind of an endearing quality to the body of work, but her performance in the state championship reminded me a lot of Carson Norman's in Bedford North Lawrence, where people will look at the box score, whatever. I mean, she's obviously a big reason why you're the state champs. But Bren, I'll start with you before Hollie kind of talks about it. I mean, you probably have to keep her grounded a little bit during the game. She's not seeing it go in. She's obviously a primary scorer for you, but it doesn't remove anything that she had done to impact this run toward being a state champ. But talk about Ella Bobe, your fellow senior.
Even though her shots weren't falling, she stepped up on defense and pulled down some boards for us. She still makes a big impact on the game. We just try to tell her to keep her head up. She still played amazing defense, and I'm just really lucky to have her beside me.
Ella has played well this whole post-tournament run. So she was due for a game that she wasn't going to score that high. But there was one point that I was just like, it's time for everybody else to step up and make some shots. You go do the other jobs. And she did that. I think she missed a layup, and she looked at me, and I'm like, who cares? Who cares? You got to get a rebound. You got to play defense. You got to do the other things that contribute to us winning.
And Madison Parrish is another one of those kids too. So she comes in a boots. Ordinarily, probably would have been in the starting lineup. Ellie Burke got the nod and got the start. But Madison was probably, probably playing at 50%. I mean, just talk about her role. Obviously, it wasn't an ideal Saturday from an individual perspective for her, but it shouldn't minimize her role in your state championship run also, Hollie, right?
Oh, my gosh, no. And she played phenomenal postseason as well and preseason. But just for her to come in, I didn't want to take that away from her to get in the game, because she's played huge minutes for us. So for her to even get in and play 50, and it was seconds at a time, was a big deal. Because normally if it was a regular season game, I would have set her out. She just wouldn't have seen the floor until she got better. But I wasn't going to be the one to tell her that she had to set out for that, for sure. And Delaney Coombs was another kid that went down with an ankle injury, and her foot is so black today and swollen. It's not even funny.
She was dealing with an Achilles injury, right?
Madison.
Yeah.
So they think it's a strained Achilles. And they said the only thing you can do is rest. They've been doing a bunch of just therapy stuff on it. But basically, they said the only thing you can really do is just shut down and rest. So to have it at the end of the season, I guess, is a blessing, but also it kind of stinks for her. But she did get in the game. She did make contributions, and even her being on the bench adds a level of toughness to us. So, yeah, I'm proud of her, and I get one more year with her. So,
Bren, I'll have you start. I'm going to ask about the 1-2-2. We'll let Hollie kind of finish it out. But Colin Mattingly, before the basketball game, walked by me on the floor and said, if we make shots against this and get out of middle touch, we're going to be just fine. You hit the first two. I mean, you made shots and you kind of broke the defense, and you actually chased them out of the 1-2-2 before I think the first quarter had concluded. Let's talk about your plan, talk about your approach against that. You probably knew you were going to get open looks and you made them. So congratulations on that. But just talk about attacking that defense.
In any zone, you got to get it to the middle. So I think everybody did a good job of getting it into the post in the middle area for kickouts, because we're a high percentage 3-point shooting team. So that's just great for us to be able to kick it out. So that was our approach, just to get it in the middle, to look for kickouts or drives. So,
Hollie, it's gotten everybody else. I mean, it got Alexandria, it got Sheridan. It didn't get you guys. Just talk about your plan with the 1-2-2.
We really didn't really change much. We added a couple different plays against it, just to kind of get a backdoor and just a quick hitter. But really our plan was to get it into the middle, like Bren said, look for her to score. And if she didn't score, we're going to have a kick out. And then also have the guards flash. The bottom block comes up pretty high, so we were trying to get behind that a little bit, and just kind of let our post people work a little bit more than what they normally do. Layla Thomas stepped in and did a good job. So yeah, I mean, that was really our goal, just to get it inside and get it back out, make that zone really collapse.
Hank will bring it home. I just have one question about the crowd. It is, somebody asked me during the 4A game who had the best crowd. And it was in a group of people, and everybody said South Knox. Were you able to have fun? Were you able to enjoy the community support? I'm not sure if you even realized how far, like, you can tell how big the crowd is by how much they go into the Class A sections, like into the Borden and LCC sections. You guys took over both. You guys had half of that stadium in the lower bowl. It was, Hank had mentioned his social media. I actually saw that tweet this morning. I think Vanessa Rosswurm said that she had tweeted it. It's a panoramic view where he goes around, but Hollie, the environment was just so good, and you were playing into it at the very beginning. Just talk about, I mean, were you able to see it? Were you able to feel it?
Honestly, most of the time when I am getting ready to coach, I lock into my parents, just like to help my nerves. But when I go back and look at those pictures, I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away that everybody loves this team as much as I do. And they cherish their experience, and it's just really rewarding for our girls to see that.
Bren, as a player, what is it like running out to that? I mean, it was loud. Like, I think Ella said she could hear it in the locker room. I was even further down the hallway. I could hear it while I was trying to do interviews. I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
It feels great to have that support behind us, but it also kind of calms us down, because we know everybody's there supporting us. But it was like a battle between the crowds, like the whole night. Like if Rensselaer would say something, then our crowd would say something. Like it was like, they're like, go Bombers, and we're like, go as far. Like it was back and forth. Even during like the national anthem, they were saying stuff. It was great.
Did you expect it to have that calm? Oh, go ahead, Hollie.
I have to say, like, the Rensselaer crowd was super, like, sportsmanship was there on both sides. And I'm super proud of our fan base, too, how they handled themselves, and all those high school kids. I mean, it could get super out of control and crazy, but they both kept it together and kept it clean and kept it a good game for all of us to be involved in.
Bren, were you expecting to have that calmness wash over and you get in a crowd like that big? Because, I mean, just listening to that, and I think Norwell said the same thing, that almost sounds counterintuitive. So were you expecting to have that kind of effect on you?
I was actually expecting to be a lot more nervous, because it's a state game. But I think seeing like all my friends and my family there, it just really calmed me down.
Hollie, for you, I don't think I ever formally asked you this, but how did this group manage expectations? I mean, this was expected of this group from the beginning? And I mean, that's a lot to put on anybody, let alone a group of high school girls.
We'd always talk about how pressure is a privilege. And we didn't accept the privilege very well a year ago. We got nervous. We didn't accept the challenges. And I think this group this year was, we got to accept those challenges and act like it's a privilege. Like it not everybody gets to do that. And, you got to trust your teammates. And that was one huge thing that we really talked about. You miss a shot and your shoulders go down and you're mad. It's telling your teammates you don't trust them. So that was huge that we talked about, is just trusting each other, buying into each other, and really just loving each other.
Bren, as players, did you guys read any of the clippings, pay attention to that sort of stuff?
Not a lot.
Yeah. For you to go out like a senior like this and to do it with your sister, I mean, just what has this ride been like for you, and what has it meant to get this time with her as teammates?
I'm really blessed to be able to play with her. I wish she was older or I was younger so I could play with her a little more. But I'm going to miss her next year, and I'm going to miss the whole entire team. I love those girls like my family, and I'll be really sad next year.
She does plan on playing in college. So basketball in college somewhere. So she's hoping, even if she goes to a JUCO for a year or goes to NAIA, that hopefully, her and her sister can meet back up and play together again. I think that's our end goal. I don't know if everybody else is on board for it, but that's what we want.
That's very cool. That's very exciting. Bren, now that it's I'm sorry, I asked that already. Just for both of you guys, how did you game plan for Rensselaer? I mean, what did that week look like for you guys? Do you do a lot of team specific stuff, or how did you approach things?
So, state week is so busy. They think sectional week, like I was like, sectional week is so exhausting. You can't hardly do anything else. You just think about basketball, but state final week is a lot. We were making trips to Indy and getting back late, and she was going with me too. So, we really just focused on them and, talked about us a little bit, but really went through their plays, really went through their personnel. And I told them, you can't always expect your shots to fall, and we just got to dig in the defensive end.
I just have a question of levity. The stream caught it. I actually saw it when Ella Bobe was shooting free throws late in the basketball game. You and your sister, Bren, were at half court, and I think maybe your mom also tweeted the picture. It looked like you guys were talking about what you guys were going to have for dinner. Like it was so relaxed. Do you know what at the moment in the game that I'm talking about was just kind of the two of you talking?
I don't remember what we were talking about, but I do remember talking to her.
I mean, it looked like it had nothing to do with basketball. Maybe a weird question. Holly, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. You never know with those two.
Yeah.
I will ask Kendall sometimes in practice. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, getting ice cream. I'm like, okay. We're just putting in a new defense, new everything. And I'm going to go get ice cream after practice. I'm like,
yeah. Well,
but she definitely gives Bren an earful most of the time, but it's awesome. It's been awesome coaching both of them, and I can't really think of any words to describe it. I love them both, and they're just great people, so it's a good time.
It was a really fun visual after the game, like all 12 players that you brought up there, and there's Bren and Kendall just kind of squeezed onto the same chair, it looked like, just kind of fighting for space there. And tip of the cap, Danny, too, to Holly, who worked in not only a Brendel reference, but got the background in there. I mean, she's doing the legwork for like a solid little NIL dealer for you, Bren.
She wouldn't scoot over in her chair, and we just had to make it work.
Perfect.
I think the Brendel shirts like sold out in town.
That's what Brooke told me too. She said,
that's really cool.
Time to start printing up some more now with like state champs on the back.
Right?
yeah, I think that's the move. Well, guys, thank you so much for hopping on with us. It's been such a joy following you and covering you guys this season, and best of luck this summer, and we'll be talking again soon, I'm sure.
All right. Thank you guys for having us.
Thanks.
Congrats.
Take care.
Bye.
Hollie Anson-Eaves, Bren Hill joining us on the scores table. Danny, we got another guest with us right now. We're going to circle back to Norwell real quickly. We're going to be joined now by Eric Thornton, who joins us now. Eric, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, guys. Sorry about that.
Oh, no
You're
problem
allowed.
at all.
You're allowed, champ.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You're a state champion. So just, I mean, what have the past 48 hours been like for you as a coach?
It's can't get to sleep Saturday night. Really enjoyed watching the Warsaw LN game. I thought it kind of mirrored our game last year with Gibson Southern, just very similar, just dig a hole and fight back and just run out of time just by, just needed another minute and a half maybe or so. But get home, wake up Sunday morning, kind of ask myself, did that really happen, for our team? Did we really win? And then head back down to Ben Davis for all-state meeting, started at noon, and come back last night for a community celebration at 6, which was just our administrators just killing themselves all week. So just very thankful for that opportunity with our community. It was great. And, back at it today. And so it's just still haven't come down. Just it's been awesome.
You told the story after the game about your dad asked you, right, when you thought you were going to win the state championship, and what was your response to that?
Yeah, my response was that, Dad, I think if we do win it, it'll be when I don't expect it. And I think I'm glad my dad reminded me of that, because I'd kind of forgotten that. I talk to my dad every day. And so we talk in the morning, and he's a tremendous supporter, and he's pretty critical at times, of why didn't you do this? And so the phone call gets a little shorter when that happens, but I'm thankful for that reminder. And you just, sometimes that happens, where you win a game, or you make a run, or a kid surprises you. And I think it just goes to show that you don't really have everything figured out. And I think even for us, to move to 4A next year, some people thought, man, I don't know, did you really want to win that semi-state championship? Well, yeah, there's no guarantees for even if we would have stayed 3A. There's no guarantees that we would have everybody healthy next year. So I think we're just very thankful for the opportunity, and our kids stepped up and played well. And I'm just happy for our whole community and our former players, former coaches. Those are the people I think about right now. And thankful for my dad too, for reminding me of that conversation.
Danny and the girls got into the weeds a bit on the 1-3-1. You mentioned though they flat broke it down, man. They were on top of it. But you mentioned the move to 4A, and the girls said like that's already been discussed. Like you had the three of them in the room today, and we're saying, hey, this is what we have ahead. And with what you guys have coming back, I mean, there may be some people that doubt you, but that's going to be that has the makings of a contender in the 4A North going into next year. You got to be pretty excited for the new challenge.
Well, I think that's the way you approach it. It is a new challenge. We'll have to grow. We'll have to play better. But the fortunate thing is our schedule is already built in for something like that, and it's certainly helped us here these last 2 years. You get exposed on things that you don't get exposed on in playing lesser competition, and that's a grind at times for us. But it is exciting. I think we're equipped next year to be able to compete at that level, to compete at a high level. We'll have to grow even more, and that's good. That's what we want. And this group right here is the perfect group to be able to approach it. Again, think big picture. They did it this year. We didn't focus on what we lost. Fortunately, our kids were. We're thinking about what we can be this year, and so we'll kind of cycle that back through again for next year, and we'll get ready for it.
Only one from me, Coach Thornton. Congratulations, by the way. The 1-3-1 I think is very obvious to ask about, but I thought the key to the game was your dribble drive. I thought you only assisted. This is an unofficial statistic. I asked the girls about it earlier, but You only had 2 assists through your first 41 points. They stayed home on everybody and allowed particularly Norris, Rosswurm, and Saalfrank to operate in the middle of the floor. I thought those kids got to the front of the rim, got 2 feet in the paint, and really just had their playing off a 2 dance with their individual defender and found a way to make layups. Is it something that you expected? It just seemed like you guys were just gonna keep running the dribble drive until you got a matchup that you liked, and it could come 4 seconds into the possession. It could come 44 seconds into the possession. But your kids got into the paint and just won individual matchups. That's the way I saw it. Is that the way you saw it? Is that the way you expected it?
I think that's the way we expected it, because when you looked at some of our losses, I think the girls already kind of pinpointed Belmont played us that way. And when you look at some of our losses or some of our games where you have to kind of grind it out, if they're going to stay home on our shooters and not help off to stop the drive, then it does become that dribble post game, like you said, where we're getting, we call the front of the rim. That's our destination. Let's get to that home base area. That front of the rim is our home base. And then let's try to stay at the front of that rim and get our short, choppy steps as we kind of kill our dribble going downhill, and then we kill it, and then we pivot and we get to the front of the rim. And then from there, it's where can I get an advantage here? And if not, we're going to play crack back out of that. And then we're just going to keep driving it. It served well. I thought it wore them down. I thought that wore them down. And I thought then you come play against the 1-3-1 again, and our angles are good. I thought it was complimentary in its own way in that game. And, it becomes a grinded out game where you're maybe I don't know what that looks like to everybody else, but we had some key buckets and some key moments where it was hard to score. We knew it was going to be hard to score against them because of how long they are and how good they are in their man. They were very sticky too, but that became the game. And but I think it did serve us well, as you mentioned. And I thought fatigue set in. I thought we could feel that from them. And then defensively, I thought we did it well enough on that end with our 1-3-1. And, the shots that they took, I don't think either team gave anything easy up for the most part in that game. I thought we were able to take away their transition because of our offensive quality, even though we didn't shoot it real well. We didn't turn it over much. I think we had 7 to their 19. Yep. It was the type of game that it had to be for us to probably win it. And then in our 13, I just thought we were extremely disruptive. I think they took shots that they don't normally take. I thought even the runners, that they might get through, or even the Euro steps. And so I thought we just made it hard. And I thought Addie was just nasty on the baseline all night. V was tough up top. Our wings played wider than the ball. We tried to protect that sideline. There was one time where on our first half where Ashley Waldman was nearest to me, and she's trying to help on the post and allows a direct pass to the wing, and they go dive with West, and two direct passes kill you in the 1-3-1, and they make 2 there. And so we had a little conversation about, like, why are you not playing wide? And she says, well, I'm trying to help on the post. And well, you have a job to do. That's not your job. Okay. Your job is to protect the sideline. And that's why we gave up that layup. So there's little adjustments within our basic rules that we kind of stuck with in that game, but we didn't really have to make any adjustments that we went over based upon how other teams attacked it. So that was kind of a wait and see thing for me in my mind. Let's learn early on what they're doing. Okay. They're doing 2-1-2 with West in there. They changed a little bit. For the most part, that was their point of attack, and it was pretty singular in nature, and it allowed us to just kind of do what we normally do.
Yeah. Last one for me, Eric. Just now you get to do this all over again with your son, right? Who's with the boys sectional starting here tomorrow night.
Yeah. We're
That's
going
to be a
tomorrow
fun
night.
tradition.
Watching tomorrow night. Yes.
So that's got to be a fun. You get to switch your mind from coach to dad and fan.
It is. I really enjoy watching our kids play. All 4 of them play, and our 2 oldest we've got the senior who's the sixth man on our team, and our other son is JV point guard who gets to dress and be a part of that. So I love going to watch them play, and I love to just see the little things that they can do to help their team. So, yeah, get to be back in the gym tomorrow. I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Congratulations again on the state championship. That's been a long time coming, man. Couldn't be any more excited for you.
Yeah, thanks for everything, guys. It's been great. I've really enjoyed it.
Appreciate it.
Congrats,
Take care.
Coach.
Thank you.
Eric Thornton, head coach of Norwell, joining us. Danny, we're going to pause the recording here in a minute, but before we do, let's get our thoughts on LN out of the way. LN takes down Warsaw in the Class 4A state championship game 65-59. I mean, just a really impressive performance by the Wildcats. The Cardiac Cats strike again, get up big. Warsaw, everybody, you and I were sitting next to each other during that game, and I think both of our mindsets were, when's the run coming? And then, bam, fourth quarter comes. I think it's a couple of Zartman for threes that gets him going. Jocelyn Berger comes up with some big shots. Everything starts firing all cylinders. Alexis Neely has some big ones. They get things going, and it just credit to Lawrence North, man. They just found a way to win. They found a way to hit enough free throws. Keke Butler was phenomenal. I that felt like her official coming out party on a statewide stage. Like, we're very keen to her within our circles because we see those teams a lot. But that felt like a coming out party for her. Naja Winston, that was probably the best game that I've ever seen for her. Maybe the best game that she'd ever played. I'll be curious to hear her thoughts and Stephen Thomas's thoughts on that. Kai Hurt, huge shots and a lot of assists at point guard. Jamaya Thomas, got over some early foul trouble, was huge. Just a phenomenal showing by Lawrence North, and the realization of potential that I think a lot of us saw at the beginning of the year. And I just keep going back to it, but just a team that reflects the energy of their coach. And it's so good to see good things happen to good people. And that's to say nothing about Warsaw, which was wonderful to cover. And I wrote a story yesterday about Brooke Winchester, what she's meant to them and her evolution as a leader. She scored, I think, 14 straight points for them at one point between the first and second quarters and was huge for them. But staying with Lawrence North, just so cool to see how that team came together and how they grew over the course of the year.
What a win. They were so good, and they played and won like the best team in the state. Like it's sometimes it is they played their best ball when they had to. We remember the timeout that Stephen called when they were down 15-0 at home against Lawrence Central. And then we see them receive blue lanyards. It's amazing how much sometimes a loss can turn your season. And I don't want to say that was the singular point, but if I were to point back to something, I think I would say that was the singular point where they all banded together. But from a breakdown perspective, I think the game boiled down to the X factors. We talked about three things as kind of the keys to the game. We talked about Bricker and Zartman versus Hurt and Butler. And yes, Butler was the best player on the floor. Okay. And that's what my eyes told me, but that was 25-25. Winchester versus Thomas, I think, was the other key matchup that we were focused in on. And Winchester probably got her from a points perspective, but Jamaya was 7 of 9 from the field for 14 points. She was all but irrelevant in that basketball game. She was so enormous, including the big and one, which gave them a huge emotional lift. But you had mentioned Naja Winston, and you didn't mention Kalia Bentley. I'll go ahead and get her name thrown in there too. Hit 4 threes. Brooklyn Roberts hit a 3. The X Factor production. Before I move on, I would also couple those two things with Ashaya Teague's performance too. So when Jamaya Thomas went to the bench with foul trouble, they did different things with Ashaya Teague on the defensive side. Every role player or every player not named Kaya Hurt, Keke Butler, Jamaya Thomas was so amazing in that game. The 4 threes by Kalia Bentley from an X Factor perspective is just enormous, big time plays. And I would throw probably Brooklyn Roberts and Kalia Bentley kind of in the same box for 5 threes there. But dude, Naja Winston, like for me, so she had 9 points, 14 rebounds. Okay. That's an X Factor line. But you want to know what isn't in that box score? What isn't in that box score was when, with 6 minutes and 29 seconds left in the fourth quarter, she comes in, crashes hard for an offensive rebound, and flips the arrow back to Warsaw. Actually, or it flips the arrow back to Lawrence North. It actually ended up being Warsaw's ball. But 3 minutes later, with 3 minutes and 14 seconds left, she makes a defensive play on Brooke Winchester in post defense and gets another jump ball. There was another play where she chased Alexis Neely to the corner on an offensive rebound opportunity that it ends up going off of Warsaw to give them an extra possession there. I think when it was a 7-point basketball game, they ran that ghost screen flare action, which was popularized, or a lot of people were looking at coming into the game because it's the action that hurt HSE, where Brooke Zartman actually ripped baseline, and Naja Winston had a blocked shot against that. She had an offensive rebound where she finished over the top. Like, the kid just made unbelievable plays, and we said that Naja Winston always just makes plays. She didn't make – it's like she made like 7 or 8 of them in this basketball game that went a long ways to ensuring that the Lawrence North Wildcats would be the state champs. So, you know, Keke Butler probably top line for me on the headline because of her shot making and her defensive efforts that she put on Bricker and sometimes Zartman in full face guard with tremendous responsibility. She stayed out of foul trouble, but the X factors, man. And Lawrence North was just – their kids just made the plays. They just made the plays, and I can't state it any more simply than that. And it was all night, and it was from everybody. So congratulations to Lawrence North.
We'll talk with Lawrence North and dive into it a little bit deeper. Let's talk a little bit about Warsaw. Just a sluggish start, just kind of an off night to start. I think Lawrence North's defense had a lot to do with that. They never really allowed them to get comfortable, and that was a part of the whole thing, was just which team's able to settle in first. And it looked like Warsaw was there for a little bit, but even so, it was just they never really pulled away, never really pushed away and built that big lead, went off that big run like we saw against HSE and so many other teams this year, just kind of plod along, and then suddenly, bam, Lawrence North hits them. But then that run at the end, man, I mean, it's just like they just see a couple shots go through and everything goes. And it's as I watched that, as it was led by Neely, Zartman, and Bricker, it's like you can kind of see the future of that program, and it's really going to suck losing Brooke Winchester in particular. Like, it's a massive leadership void, and everybody talks about the energy she brought to that team, but they have a lot coming back, and it's a program with a very bright future, and so much respect for Lenny Krabs too. I mean, just his comments after the game about everybody and the perspective that he provided in a really emotional situation. You know, he was a state championship. It was really beautiful and really eloquent what he said after the game. Sorry, that was kind of all over the place. I'll let you pick and choose where you want to play things.
No, I don't think it was all over the place. I thought, and I'm probably the person from Indianapolis has probably seen as much Warsaw basketball as anybody. They looked less aggressive at the very beginning of the basketball game. They just looked less aggressive. And I don't want to point at one individual player, but you know what had made them so successful throughout the year was their ability to attack different people with just their own individual creativity. And I think I want to credit Lawrence North for their ability to just make that hard. There's obviously, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, I mean, there's the 7-minute stretch in the second quarter when Jocelyn Bricker's out of the basketball game. Now, to Warsaw's credit and Jocelyn Bricker's credit, the lead extended to 18 with Jocelyn Bricker on the floor. So I don't want to draw a direct relationship to those 7 minutes and Lawrence North's championship. But when they just started playing, I think they looked looser. I think they looked more aggressive. And I think that was a product of the Lawrence North defense. I don't know if they were caught by surprise with the fact that Lawrence North just checked a man, but it certainly looked like that to me. It almost looked as if here's a basketball team that thinks they can guard us, and they're guarding us, and they lost aggression because of it. And so I think from that perspective, and then they shot 25% from the field in the first half. Like they did not make shots. And we talked about it in South Knox, how they needed, Colin Mattingly talked about how they just needed to hit early shots. Yeah, they got a couple of them to go down, but 25% from the field is not Warsaw basketball. And I think it just caught them out of rhythm. Once they got a couple shots to go down, I think it was just a little bit too late. You exert so much energy trying to erase an 18-point deficit that when you get there, and I think they had 2 possessions with the basketball with the chance to tie. I believe they had 2 possessions down 3. And maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe
right. Yeah,
it was something like that. But that takes a lot of energy to do. I mean, but that first 9-0 run that brought it back to single digits, I mean, that happened in like 45 seconds. And so you knew it wasn't over. But they just needed to be a little bit sharper, a little bit more aggressive, and a little bit better earlier. But it does not take away from how good of a season they were. I think they were validated. I think one of the things that people said about Warsaw the entire season is they didn't play anybody. They didn't play anybody. And en route to the state championship, they beat South Bend, Washington. They beat McCutcheon, a really good McCutcheon outfit. And they beat the number 1 team in the state in HSC. They deserve to be there. And you're right. They returned 2 Indiana All-Star candidates, 2 1,000-point scorers. Depending on how this plays out, maybe even a Miss Basketball candidate. They're going to be very, very good next year. And that's all due respect to the impact that Brooke Winchester had on this basketball team. But Warsaw doesn't have an individual, they don't have an individual media outlet that maybe covers them. And so we have maybe been adopted by that. So I speak to the Warsaw community when I say this. You have a lot to be proud of, and that game doesn't define this basketball team at all. They were relevant. They were a relevant story. They were a validated story. They were super fun to watch, and I don't think that's going to change at all next year.
Yeah, they're going to be one to watch, and what's going to be fun is when it's like Homestead and Norwell in a sectional together. You're going to have Lake Central, or not Lake Central, Valparaiso is going to be good next year. You're going to have Warsaw is going to be back. That north side's going to be good, and then whoever comes out of Section 8, HSC is going to look like the favorite, or looks like to be the favorite as we sit now on March 3rd, 2025. But that's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And also, Danny, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention best 4A crowds, I think, in my time here. This is number 5 for me, 4 or 5. Small sample size, but I mean, that crowd rocks. LN, tip of the cap to them, man. They packed it in there. I wasn't sure what to expect. That they showed out in force. And Warsaw, I mean, they over-delivered. Like, not unlike South Knox, where excellence was the expectation, they over-delivered with the orange wave there. And then, I mean, just both sides were so loud, so rowdy. It was really fun, aside from, directly behind me.
Yeah, the Lawrence North crowd was fantastic. And I was actually sitting across from them, so maybe that's why it felt louder to me. But they weren't in their seats when Lawrence North took the floor. And it was almost a little bit concerning at the beginning, because you're like, are they here? Are they coming? Are they just going to be a road game for Lawrence North? No, they were just all in the concourse getting ready. When they came in, they made their impact on that basketball game, and I think the Lawrence North Wildcats fed off of that. And I think, look, Stevens like that too. I mean, they feed off their coach, they feed off their crowd, they feed off of each other, and that was a train that just wasn't going to be stopped on Saturday night. They'd just been playing so well. And I said it when I was talking about South Knox. At times to Warsaw, I probably felt like there were 6 of them out there, just because it was so loud, and Stephen Thomas is in a defensive stance running around. It was really, really something. But that's a great program win for Lawrence North, a great a great maybe advancement of the great basketball traditions that are on the north side of Lawrence County there.
Really cool.
Really Lawrence cool. Township, sorry.
Yeah. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Lawrence North coach Stephen Thomas and 4 or 5 different players too. So
nice.
We'll be back to wrap that up, or to interview them, and then bring this thing home. All right, Danny, it only seems fitting that we get to bring this thing home with the Lawrence North state champion girls basketball team from Class 4A. Keke, Butler, Kaya, Jamaya Thomas, Naja, Winston, Stephen Thomas here with us right now. I mean, I don't have anything else to ask. I just want to hear what these past couple days have been like for you guys as state champions. Keke, why don't you start us, work left to right, and bring it home with Stephen?
Can we start right to left?
No, you need to start. You also need to tell us what you're wearing, or what outfit you have picked out for Danny Boy here.
Yeah, Danny got a hat, some nice little boots. He got something coming.
And I'm gonna tell you this much. She's put a lot of thought into this, Danny, so I'm excited to see what comes out of this package.
This is unbelievable. Hey, listen, though, I will say this. A bet's a bet, and you earned it because you were awesome, Keke.
Kai and Jamaya seniors, I mean, getting to go out as state champions, obviously this is a dream. Now that it's reality, I mean, what has this meant to you? What has it been like, having to achieve your ultimate goal? Kyle, why don't you start?
Left to right, Jamaya, left to right, left to right.
My bad. Don't you know right to live?
You guys earned this. Come on, knock this out. Though this is an easy one for you two. This is phenomenal. I can't wait to hear this.
It's been great accomplishment. We made our dream come true. It became a reality. So it's been a great couple of days, and just been chilling, feeling like we did what we needed to do, got the job done.
I would say, yeah, what Kaya said, like a dream come true. I've been wanting this since I was a freshman myself, and to go out like that, it feels really good. Like a weight's been lifted off my chest, so it's been really nice these past couple days.
Naja, for you, getting to be a state champion, I mean, just what has this experience been like for you so far? How much fun is this?
It's actually been great because last year I didn't like the feeling. So to win it like this, it was definitely great to win it with Kai and Jamaya. We started off playing as kids, but nobody would ever know that. So it was definitely a great feeling to win it with them on their last year. So
Steven, obviously want to hear what this has been like for you, but I mean, this morning you and the girls were out, you were reading to elementary school kids in the township, right? I mean, that's pretty awesome.
That's excuse me, that's how awesome these kids are. Right? Like they understand the platform, they understand what we stand for in the LN way and the things that we do and how we hold ourselves to a higher standard and what it's really all about, right? And they understand, and we have conversations all the time. Like there's kids that want to be Keke, Butler, Kaya Hurt, Jamaya Thomas, Naja Winston, and they're right here in our township, right? And anytime that we're able to go out and represent, as these ladies do every single day in a phenomenal way as student athletes in the classroom, in the hallways, for them to set that standard and show that the younger kids that, this is what cool is. I'm very blessed and proud of these young ladies. But yes, immediately, they wanted to get out and part of what we're talking about, right, is celebrating them. So to see them be able to walk around with their shoulders and a little out and a little confidence boost, I couldn't be prouder than I am of them.
Jamaya, coach mentioned it and just setting the example for the younger kids. And I know from our time at Media Day when you had your sisters with you, I have a couple pictures too of you interacting with kids after the games. I mean, just the opportunity to be a role model and having so many young people look up to you. I mean, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I love kids, so it's really nice to see them look up to me. It makes me feel better about myself. Like I'm just inspiring the younger generation. And yeah, it just makes me feel nice.
Just a sidebar on that. You have a special young one when your little ones, your own kids, like look up to these girls. My daughters are ecstatic about these young ladies. You're about to hear my dog bark here, crazy. But they absolutely love them. Absolutely love them.
I got a question. I'll ask an individual question to each of the kids. Keke, you first. So when breaking the game down, we talked about, the backcourts, Zartman, Bricker, your own teammate next to you hurt. I mean, it was you. I mean, tied for a game high 20, hit all the big shots, the big corner three, the sweet reverse layup in the open floor, the 4 free throws in the final 40 seconds. I mean, those are big time championship level winning plays. And, when we first talked about you on this podcast, months and months ago, we talked about how you were becoming one of the top players in the class. You've done nothing to slow that down to the point where if you said that you're the best player in the class, I mean, recency bias would tell you that you might just be. Okay. Just talk about you on Saturday night, your approach to it. I mean, did you feel relief? Was it easy? Was it hard? I just want to hear you talk about the way that you played on Saturday, because it was just remarkable.
I just knew that I would be an important role to helping us succeed. I knew Jamaya was going to do her thing. Naja came out rebounding, doing her thing. I just basically wanted to be remembered about something that happened great and just playing my role and doing what I had to do in order to help us win the state championship.
Congratulations, Keke. Jamaya, you next, okay? I mean, we made a lot about the Winchester versus Jamaya matchup, and I know for you it was probably Warsaw versus Lawrence North, but you were 7 of 9 from the field, 14 points, battled foul trouble, guarded different people. There were different things that you did. You had the big and one, which seemed like the big emotional lift play in the basketball game. Just talk about that matchup and battling Winchester, kid that you might battle in college, but you didn't back down. I mean, she got off to a really good start, but in the end, 7 of 9, multiple rebounds, 14 points. You did your thing, Jamaya. Congratulations. Just talk about your matchup.
Yeah, I just knew I had to, try to slow her down a little bit and try to do whatever we needed to do to win the game. I did battle with some foul trouble. That's when Naja and Naja came in and helped me with that and slow her down so we can win the basketball game. And yeah, I did my homework. I watched film. I studied her. And I just wanted to win a state championship. And that's what we went out there and did.
Naja, you didn't hear our lead into it, but I don't know that the Lawrence North Wildcats are the state champs without your performance on Saturday night. And statistically, we can talk about the 9 points and the 14 rebounds that you had, but I was able to tell you to your face, yesterday, some of the things that you did, like there was the loose ball in front of the Lawrence North bench, which gave you an extra possession. There was the jump ball on the offensive rebound. There was the post defense that flipped the arrow back to Lawrence North on Winchester. There was the block shot on Zartman. I mean, I said you were going to make a couple of plays. I did. Girl, you made like 10 plays that just won you the blue lanyard. Like, you were fantastic. And I heard people tell me, some of your teammates, in fact, said that they had never seen you play better basketball. How did you feel about your performance on Saturday?
I really felt like I did good and what was needed for my team, getting the rebounds, helping Jamaya out guard her. He told me my matchup, and I'm just like, let's go. Like, it's time to go to work. So I'm just like, I didn't want to go home. So I just played my best game I played all season. So, yeah, because I didn't want to go home. So.
And then Kaya, as a senior, the first time we talked about you, we talked about how you were one of the best guards in the class and a little bit under the radar. You're anything but now. Under the radar. I think people have recognized you as one of the best guards. You got that first 3 to go down, and I can only imagine that was just the weight of the world off of the Lawrence North shoulders. One might look at the box score and make snap judgment on how you played, but that shot was big. Your leadership was big. You being a senior was big. Just talk about your experience on the floor Saturday night with what your role was bringing home the state championship for Lawrence North.
My role was really to I feel like it was just to, make everybody, comfortable. Like, don't put pressure on them as much. Like, put all the pressure on me. I got it, and then y'all can do y'all thing. Even though I wasn't, you feel me? I could care less about points. Like, I really could care less. As long as everybody's hype and everybody's having fun, clapping, being hype, that's all I care about. At the end of the day, we got a state championship, so that's all. That's it.
So with 3.5 minutes left, Naja, you got the jump ball, which gave the ball back to Lawrence North. I think he maybe traded a couple of empties. Then Steven calls timeout. And then you guys decide that you're going to run a little bit of clock, and it ends with you penetrating the paint, throwing a no-look pass. I can't remember who hit was 2. Steven, you'll probably be able to refresh my memory, but Kaya, you broke him down in the open floor. That was one of your 7 assists in the basketball game. You only had 2 turnovers. You were outstanding, but that play that's highlight film stuff, Kaya. Just you talk about your just handling the basketball, dealing out the assists, taking care of it against a high pressure defense like that. Talk about that, Kaya.
I like to, like I said, I like to handle the ball. I just feel like those are like the important parts of playing basketball. Everybody's hype, everybody's nervous and stuff. And I feel like if I handle it, take pressure off. Like, every time I get the ball, like, there's no pressure, because at the end of the day, it's either I make a good play or pass it, or somebody's going to make a shot. Like, there's really no in between. So I feel like that big play of giving Jamaya the ball and just her getting big and making the layup, that really set the goal. Like, oh, we got this. Like, it's up from there.
Stephen, you checked a man. You checked a man. I made a lot of how a team would struggle with, their ghost screen flare action, their circle sets, their speed and their pace. And you just said, we're going to check you man to man, and we're not going to mix in any zone or any of that stuff. I mean, it just seemed like at the end of the day, you just made the decision to just say, hey, listen, we're better. And we can guard them, and we're the one team that can. Did I see it right? That's the way I saw it. How did you scheme it? I mean, what's your thought there?
Had a week of preparation, right? And these girls are phenomenal. Like, they've dove in. So, like, when they've taken it, and the turning point in our season is when they started owning film. These girls have locked in on film. Like, we do a good job with Scout, and I have my assistant Tyler Effington and Consuelo Sanders. I put a lot of responsibility with myself on breaking things down. But they took this thing to a whole new level of coming to film sessions and telling me, and us having conversations, and us being in here and really like working as a unit to it's not just my way or the highway, or this is about winning, right? Like, we want to win. And so when it comes down to it, when you go through a couple days and you do throw in some of your stuff, and they're like, like, well, I don't like that. I'd rather. So honestly, like, the final decision became made with these four ladies in our locker room. That literally, it helped me make the decision at the end of the day of what they felt the most comfortable out on. Like, I touched on it a couple podcasts ago. Like, I'm stuck on the sidelines. Like, these girls are battling their tails off to make plays, to do whatever needs to be done on the court. So the easiest way for me to help navigate that, or help put them and make them even more comfortable, by having their voices into it with Kaya, Jamaya, Keke and Naja. And then to be able to listen to them on the court talk about how they wanted to guard things and how this should be doing, how we should do this. This is a special group, and people are some of them are late to it, in my opinion, when it comes to Jamaya and Kaya, and Naja and Keke have just continued to answer the call and answer every question. And so just as a head coach, like, when you have that kind of buy-in and system that these girls don't want to go home, special things happen, and that's what happened on Saturday night. A lot of this is the tip of the cap for me to them and their effort to execute the game plan. But if you wanted to ask them, I feel like they all had a say in it and communicated beautifully out there as a connection and as a team.
That is one heck of a starting five that we see, boxed up in the top side of that screen right there. The fifth is Kalia Bentley. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about her next. That kid hit 4 monster threes. Brooklyn Roberts added 1 more to make it 5. That is not a singular thing. I mean, Brooklyn Roberts hit 3 threes in the fourth quarter against Lawrence Central. These kids have just made plays for you like an X factor perspective or X factor narrative. Stephen, I'll start with you, but I'd like to hear some of the other, maybe the seniors, Kaya and Jamaya. You guys comment on this after Coach Thomas does, but Kalia Bentley, I mean, how do you keep that kid confident to make shots and for her to perform? And you got to be so happy for her, Stephen, right?
Absolutely. 1,000%. I mean, like, she earns the respect of these ladies by the work that she puts in, that they see, right? Like, we coin chopping wood, and like, literally, like, these girls have gone to work on a very, very tough schedule, 5th ranked schedule, I believe. And so you've got these 4 at the top of your screen right here, breathing life into you and telling you, hey, girl, you got this. And they've got the experience that they have. Kalia Bentley, like Kaya just said, there's only one way up, and that's one way from there, and that's up. And so when it comes to Naja Winston running over to Brooklyn Roberts and grabbing her by the chin and telling her keep her head up, to the things that these girls communicated in locker rooms and on the bus, and the way that they celebrated Kalia on the bus was, as a head coach, you just sit back and you're just like, this is why you do what you do, and they just love each other and have become such a unit. You know, we went from reading to kids this morning to like I'm sitting at a breakfast table with them, and just to hear them communicate and talk, and just the lifelong memories and things that they're going to have and the connections that they've made. You know, it's worth every one of the 8 losses that people like to talk about when it came to our record. But these girls literally picked each other up, and so just to go along with that, like they hyped Kalia up so much. These 4 out there in practice, I mean, they're rebounding. Kaya's rebounding. Keke's rebounding for just getting her extra shots, getting her extra reps. Naja's talking her talk because, you know, love Naja and the spice that she's brought and everything nice that she's brought to this unit. Then you got Jam, right? Like Jam's just kind of the vocal. So you got them 4 telling you the baddest thing walking. It's abound, and Kalia's got an unwavering confidence in herself as well, and that's why she mixes in, and Brooklyn mixes in, and Ashaya Teague mixes in, and all of our group, right? Like there's so many of them that also bring life. Wilma Gardner, Ava Cousin, Maya Johnson, all 3 seniors, right? And I'd be remiss to not include them and talk about them. Our locker room has been phenomenal. And when I talk about that T in the road, when we made a decision that said, we're going to chop wood and we're going to do this thing together. Their togetherness is what's been so infectious. And a togetherness that has laid a foundation now for these ladies that are juniors that are going to lead as seniors next year and impact the next group. And so as a head coach, can be prouder of what they've done and how they've lifted each other up. And that's just a small snippet into, you know, what believing in each other can do, what breathing confidence in each other and knowing each other and putting each other in the best situations possible. Kalia Bentley was phenomenal on Saturday night.
Kaya, anything to add on Kalia? Jamaya, anything to add on Brooklyn?
Yeah. After practice, you'll see them both like literally shooting after. Like they will be the last ones to, you know, go home. Like you always see them either the ball and shoot. Like if we have a break, like you'll literally see them shoot threes. Like there's not one time that they're not going to be shooting.
Yeah, like Kaya said, you just see them put in the work after practice, and it just feels good to see my teammates, all the work that they put in. You know, it shows on the court, and it definitely showed on Saturday.
I'll start with Steven on this one. Anybody can answer it, but you know, I was there in your gym when you guys called timeout and you're down 15-0 on your home floor to the defending state champion Lawrence Central. You guys looked like anything but the state champ that afternoon, and then something happened. And I guess I ask you like this: was that the turning point where you just banded together and after that basketball game decided that you want to be the best team in the states, or was that just a speed bump on the road? It just talk about that, because that was not like 6 months ago. I mean, it wasn't even 6 weeks ago. It was pretty recent. But if somebody watched that game on Saturday and said this team was down to LC at home 15-0, and now they're doing this to Warsaw, I don't know that a lot of people would have believed it. So, Steven, was that the turning point?
Turning point for us, absolutely. T in the road. I mean, you had a decision to make, right? Like we're either going to chop the wood and put the work in and come together right now or we're going to run into them in sectional and we know what's going to be, right? So, you know, for them, there was the turning point, you know, and that's what I really saw, the maturity in our leadership, especially with these 4. Like, they didn't want to go home, and they made that very, very clear every day in practice and leading the charge with the energy and the effort, and the expectation of focus and to details, to communicating that together. Like I said, you know, I talked with earlier this week about courageous conversations is about the politest way that you can possibly put what those group of leaders did in the locker room, where we made that decision. Like, this is where we are headed and there's no other option. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to approach it, and this is how we're going to attack it. And it's going to take from 1 to 13 to 14 that's on that practice roster. So couldn't be prouder of them banding together and doing what they've done. But you know, from there, it was like, man, we've been gut punched, right? Like that was a gut punch in front of our community. That was, I mean, outstanding on Saturday night. Just want to shout them out as much as I possibly can. Like our community of Lawrence North and Lawrence Township really showed up and showed out on Saturday night for us because they know this story. They know that this group has taken shots and they've fallen. And what a story to be able to tell, right? Not a story of that anybody that wasn't a part of this could tell you, but that, you know, a group of sisters that said, hey, this is how we're going to do this, and special things are going to come from it, and the belief in that was incredible.
Kai and Jamaya, would you have envisioned a state championship finish when you were in the midst of that 4-game losing streak? Like, did you guys see things coming together the way they have, or did that belief kind of start to come together later in the season?
Go ahead, Jamaya.
I would say, yeah, it definitely started like becoming reality and coming together, especially after that big loss against LC. It was like a reality. Like, if we don't get our stuff together, like our season's gonna end early. We're gonna be at home. We're not gonna have practice anymore, and that's just the reality that we didn't want. So we worked hard. We chopped wood. Then we came to practice and we got better.
Yeah, I agree with Jamaya. You know, that big loss against Lawrence Central, like, we had to lock in, like, real bad. Or, yeah, like Jamaya said, we going home. Like, that's the end of the season. So, yeah, we got in the lab. We talked. It was more communication, more chemistry added on to everything. And, yeah.
I think that they saw the hourglass sand dwindling, and they decided to flip it, right? Like they flipped it to the other side. I think Jamaya and Kai, and like I said, our other seniors in the Shy Teague and everybody, you know, Jamaya is really honest. She said, we're not going home. Like this, we're not being done. And I think Naja and Keke and our juniors realized like how quick this thing goes. I'm gonna be a senior next year. And they rallied around each other. And when you're a part of something special, you become something special and you have special results. And that's what this group's been. It's nothing but special. So couldn't be prouder of the decision and how they led and how they were able to make life easier on me and what we did. And you know, because coaches, you know, you dream of this, right? You dream that at the right time and in the right part of the season, we're going to make a run. But it's hard. I mean, it's incredibly hard to get that buy-in and commitment from top to bottom. We had a very special group.
Naja, the past 3 teams we've had on, they all had similarly large size groups to you guys, and they talked about how seeing that big contingent of their fans kind of helped calm them down. When you guys came out for pregame warmups and the game started and you had just that massive section of Lawrence North fans behind your bench, did that kind of help calm you guys down?
Yes, they're very supportive, and they come everywhere. They came to every single game since sectionals, and we beat LC. So definitely very supportive, and they keep us going too. Like just to hear them cheer for us when we all score, when Jamaya gets her and ones, when Kaya hits her threes, when Keke does what she does, when I do what I do, when the team does what they do. It just helps definitely to hear them in the background.
For you, I mean, what was it like playing in that atmosphere? I mean, a big arena, big game, and I mean the atmosphere, I mean, it met everything. Like it checked all the boxes, which I haven't seen in a lot of those 4A championship games. So as a player, what's it like getting to experience that?
I was very anxious and nervous. So Coach Thomas told us before we get out there, get all the butterflies out now, take some deep breaths. So I was just sitting there trying to take deep breaths, but as the game got started, I kind of got comfortable. So
you're doing yourself kind of comfortable. You let your hair down, kid.
You looked very smooth out there. Keke, watching you guys, both players and then Steven as well, it seemed like even when you're up 18, you're up big in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was still pedal to the metal urgency. Like you guys knew the run was coming from Warsaw. When that run did come, you guys didn't really waver. What was the energy like on the sideline? What was going through your mind mentally as Warsaw started making that push and chipping into that 18-point lead you guys had built?
You guys go ahead first. I want to hear from you because I have my opinion.
Okay, so I mean, no team is just going to give up. I mean, they're here for a reason. So I don't think anyone was just going to continue to let us do what we was out there doing to them. So we knew the run was coming. We knew they were good. We knew they could shoot as well. So the points acted a lot faster. But we just continued to do what we had to do and trust each other and stay with one another and just know that we can still pull it off and that we don't have to worry about this. Like we've been through moments like throughout the season.
Were there discussions, like, were you guys saying amongst each other in like huddles and whatnot, we got to stay aggressive, let's keep pushing and don't play scared, I guess, scared of that inevitable run?
Yeah. We knew that we had to keep attacking the basket, try to like limit certain shots that we were taking. We knew that we needed to draw fouls and like get to the free throw line, and we knew that like eventually since the league was like that, they were going to have to start pressing. So we knew we had to handle the ball and then play defense. They were going to have to get it out fast and get in training.
Steven, how'd you see that?
Like I said, man, this group, you give them a week, and the buy-in that they had at that moment in the season with the momentum that they had, they prepared for. Like we watched HSC versus them in their semi-state final game, right? HSC had a lead and they shot the ball, made plays, right? Like this is what this part of the season is about. No lead is safe. We've talked about it as a team, and I've spoken about this group on the decisions that were made in that T in the road. And so some of this was just being able to say, hey, we're comfortable being uncomfortable. Because we've been in these situations, because we've learned from the adversity, the challenges, everything that our seasons brought to us, and it went from oh no, this is here we go again to hey, here we go again, and we're ready. And this time it's time to finish, and this time we're going to make the plays. You see a Kaya Hurt, Keke Butler, Naja Winston, Jamaya Thomas, Kalia Bentley, or Brooklyn, the Shy T. They're huddling up. They're having the conversations on the floor of what needs to be done, and because we've been here. So a lot of those timeouts down the stretch were regroup. We know what to do. Don't we have this in place? Don't we have this in place? We knew they were going to make a run. They're seniors over there, juniors over there battling for the same thing that we're fighting for too. They're not just going to give it to you, because that was a really talented team that could really shoot the ball. So we knew that was inevitable, that they were going to make shots. They've made shots all year. The numbers say so. It's not by personal opinion or by people or hearsay. It's factual by max preps, right? Like statistically, they shot the ball extremely well. So we knew at some point they were going to make shots and not to panic. And then when this group is saying it before they're coming to the timeout to hear it from me, sometimes I had to figure out random things to talk about in those long media timeouts. That was so much time during timeouts when it came to it. That was something new for us, but the conversations that were had over there were incredible and player led. So it gets me the opportunity to be a coach and give them the opportunities to star in their roles. I touched on it, and it was greatly talked about, like queens being queens. Like these girls literally, you put the ball in their hand and they're going to make plays happen. Like Kaya said, she's took the lead role as a point guard and put the weight on her shoulder to say, hey, I'm going to put us in the right positions for our team to be successful. And Keke's done a phenomenal job of being the yin to the yang of that whenever need to be. And then you throw in, an experienced, Naja Winston we've been here before. Jamaya Thomas has been here before, and they're talking about, we're going to do these things and how we're going to do them. It's inspiring to see.
I saw that what Steven is talking about, player-led communication and things like that. And Naja, Steven mentioned when everybody could see it. You took Brooklyn's chin and made sure that she had her head up. When you walked up to the line, you obviously had Brooklyn's back. Jamaya had yours, and there was this cool moment in the game where she walked up to you and everybody was taking pictures where you were up at the line. Everybody else was kind of back. Jamaya walks up to you and kind of whispers into your ear a little bit. Can you share with us what that interaction was like at the free throw line in that big moment, Naja?
It's just a big sister, little sister moment. So she just told me, "Let's go. This is it." And we did it. That's it. We did it. So she was like, "Just knock them down one by one or by 10. The Wildcats go win." So just knock that free throw down. So I missed one and hit the other. So
Jamaya, that's not the first time I've seen you do stuff like that. Steven has been on this podcast maybe more than anybody else has been on this podcast, and talks about how the vocal leadership and the mother hen of the group seems to be you. And then here you are in the biggest moment with Naja Winston at the line. Just talk about where that comes from. Just talk about your role as the leader of this group.
I'm just willing to do whatever it takes to win. If that means having to help everyone on the team, saying whatever needs to be said, knowing everybody, knowing what to say to anyone, just to do what to do to win. And I knew what Naja needed in the moment, so that's what helped us win the game.
Girls, for all of you guys, just what has it been like to be part of this run? What has it meant to you to be part of this program as juniors who have another year left and seniors? I just love to hear your thoughts on what it's been like to go through this season and, like I said, to represent the Wildcats. Keke, why don't you start us?
This season we've learned a lot, especially with the leading seniors that we do have. You get to learn lessons from one another, and you get to also be a part of a very good group. Like, you don't really find groups like this often. We all love and support one another, so I am very proud of getting able to be on this team, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to be on this team with everyone on here. Huge shout out to Jamaya, because she always lifts me up, always knows how to keep me in a good mood in any moment needed, especially with those free throws. Towards the end, no matter what, she always tells me, if I missed the first one, you got the next one, or tells me to knock them down, or shoot. She be sometimes saying if I miss, she gonna get the rebound. Like, she just always how to lift somebody up.
Season has been a great experience. A lot of life lessons that I learned. It's been great talking to everybody, playing with everybody, because everybody's different. Like, everybody has their own personalities, everybody has their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and it was great to learn and get to know each and everybody on this team.
Yeah, I would say this season was a great experience. It was a blessing to be on this team during this season. And we had so many ups and downs, and I'm just so glad that it all paid off in the end. Usually most teams would crumble and just tear down at some of the stuff we've been through, but we persevered and we got it done at the end of the day, and we got the highest prize out of it. So I'm just really proud of everybody, and I'm happy and grateful to have the opportunity to compete and play with this team.
I'm very thankful because I transferred and they all welcomed me very nice, very well. Kaya, Jamaya, Keke, everybody on the team, Coach Thomas, they just lift me up because I'm very emotional. I'm a very emotional kid. So just for them to always be around and be there, and then the best outcome came at the end. So very thankful for the team, the coaches, and our athletic directors, everything. They're just very supportive, always lift us up, and always are here to cheer us up, come into practice, everything. So, yeah.
Steven, for you, what's it? Just bring us home. Just tell us what it's been like to coach this group and to be around these girls every day.
Just, we talk about like adversity in the season. Like, these girls have had it in their lives and they have loved each other through this season. And like, Naja touched on it earlier, like, these girls have played together for a long time. This is Lawrence Township at its finest. Like, these kids walked elementary schools. They've lived this life together and had a togetherness that they'll be able to talk about for the rest of their lives, right? Like, there's a lot of things been said about our team and this and that, but at the end of the day, they got to call this group champions. And they get to do that together for the rest of their lives. Every time they get to come back to Lawrence North High School, their high school, where they graduated from, their picture is going to be on that wall. And we've talked about that, plenty of times, like seeing it before we believe it. I would be goofy as ever, and they can tell you I'd be just staring up at a spot where I said, I see the picture. I see it. Do you see it? And once they started to see it and see it together, as a head coach, like that's going to be an impossible force, and that force is what you saw Saturday at that band together, and the journey that these girls have gone on to become state champions has been one that people will remember, because it was a challenging one. Like every team that we beat down in our postseason, down the stretch, literally were grade A quality programs. With great A plus quality kids and talent that were on those teams. So people try to ask of does Warsaw remind you of a different team? Not a different team, but a collective unit of really good basketballs from a bunch of different teams that we played. And like Jamaya said, like most teams would have crumbled, but this group banded together, and it's because of the family type atmosphere in which they've been able to buy into. And a lot of these kids, could go to different schools around the donut of 465. But they choose each other, and they choose Lawrence Township, and they choose Lawrence North. And ultimately, I'm the beneficiary of all of that as being the head coach. Like, I'm so thankful that they choose me and have chosen me. And I can't be prouder of these two seniors and the campaign that they've left out there and given it all as they aspire to be Indiana All-Star. And I can't be prouder of these two juniors, in which have literally displayed on the highest stage, what it looks like to play at a high level, to be junior All-Stars. So anytime that you have that in your locker room, like, special things are going to come from that. So couldn't be prouder of what they've done and how they've done it together, and what they've shown that a team can really look like. Like, individually, this group could go off and play and have scored, points per game, and that stuff could have mattered to them. But you heard it from them first, right? None of that mattered to them. The us, the we, the Wildcats is what mattered to them. And a fun fact about, like, literally each one of these ladies, you talk about, Wildcat Nation on Saturday night. Like, I'm pretty sure Keke had like 60 tickets in which her parents and mother bought. Like, Kaya had another 30 to 40. Like, Jamaya had the entire Chicago city come to support her. Naja literally had the entire family tree. So when they know that they have that backing, at home. And the things that they can do together, like, it's just special.
I love that. Well, guys, congratulations again. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other here over the coming weeks with All-Stars and AAU and all that stuff. But congratulations again. It was great talking to everybody.
Appreciate you so much. And thank you both, man. As I always say when I'm on the show, like, girls basketball and women's basketball has blown up, and your guys' coverage of the talent that's around this state is incredible. We're very thankful that you included us on today's show, and we're very thankful to be the state champions of 4A in this wonderful state of very talented teams and coaches. So thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Keke, Butler, Kaya Hurt, Naja, Winston, Jamaya Thomas, Stephen Thomas, here with us on the scorers table, the 4A state champions. Danny, that's a show.
That's a season.
So the next time that we talk to you guys will probably be with the Miss Basketball recipient. I don't know who it's going to be. I have to cast my vote before tomorrow as we record this. I've been putting it off because it is just such a hard decision, which is a compliment to just the incredible level of talent for the senior class. But on IndyStar.com, we'll have some way too early rankings for both statewide and then a way too early Fab 15. We obviously have the Borden story, which, again, I encourage everybody to check out. That was so much fun to put together, and just an incredible group of kids to be around. We have in-depth stories from the Norwell game, in the Lawrence Central game. And then we'll have Indiana All-Star stuff. Obviously, I'll have super teams. And, yeah, Danny, I don't know what I'm going to do without these 4-hour podcasts with you in the next 3 weeks. Like, it's going to feel like a piece of my week is missing. Like, I'm going to be texting, like, Danny, should I start lining up guests? What are we going to do? I'm going to be hitting up Courtney, like, Courtney, available? Where are the children? So that's going to be weird. But, buddy, it's been so much freaking fun. I learned so much from hanging with you, and Court too. Obviously, she's just an endless source of energy and enthusiasm, and positivity, and your guys' enthusiasm for this makes it gives me life. Like, I'm ready to fall asleep right now, and was throughout the tournament stuff last week. But just getting the chance to work with you guys and your enthusiasm for it makes it so much easier for me to get fired up for it too. And it's such a blessing to work with you guys, and love you guys, appreciate it. And two, speaking on behalf of Danny and Courtney, to everybody, it's just been a blast doing this. We appreciate all the support. We talk about it fairly regularly, just who's been coming up to Danny, who's been talking to Courtney, who I've run into, just because it's cool, the reach of this thing. It's blown up. I say this time and time again. I thought we'd be lucky to get 50 listeners when, say, Danny and I first started this, and we were sitting right across the hall over there taping it in a room under a quarter. And here we are with full video, with guests, with thousands of views on random episodes. Our semi-state stuff blew up. State stuff blew up. The prediction show for state, which was one of the most fun episodes that I've ever had done, took off. So it's just really cool. So congratulations to everybody on a great season. Danny and I will be back in a couple months here with Miss Basketball stuff and with Courtney as well, to do all that stuff. But for Danny, for Courtney, my name is Hank. We thank you all so much for watching. Have a great off season.